Welcome back to the Fast Travel Lounge. Pull up a chair, pour yourself a drink, grab yourself some snacks, and enjoy listening to us talk, laugh, and argue through all the latest in gaming and pop culture news. We've made it to episode 3. Keen listeners among you will notice that episode 1 was 2 hours and episode 2 was 3 hours, but don't worry, we unionized, demanded better working conditions from ourselves, and we have no obligations to make this 4 hours. I am Patrick. I'm once again joined by Seth, Steve, and Josh. Just want to do a quick plug for the socials. We have Twitter at Fast Travel Lounge -1L. I still don't know where that L went, whether it's the back of travel or the start of lounge. But we are on Twitter, and we're also on Facebook at Fast Travel Lounge, but without the missing L.
You know, Patrick, we do have that Twitter written down, but at this point, I just refuse to tell you which one it is.
Well, maybe the listeners out there can figure it out and tell me in due time. We'll just do a quick round the lounge first, try to get a taste of what we have in store for this hopefully much shorter episode. I'll start. I have not been playing Halo Infinite like everyone else has, but I finally finished Big Mouth Season 5, which will be a 30-second discussion point because, spoiler, it's basically like every other Big Mouth season. I started playing a bit of Road 96, though, which would be interesting to get into that a little bit. And I've still been playing Forza Horizon 5. What about you, Seth? What have you been up to?
Yeah, so after last week of getting through 3/4 of Jack X, I actually went and finished the game, and I've been playing Halo Infinite since it came out.
Excellent. This will probably be the Halo Infinite episode, which I'm sure our one lovely listener out there will absolutely adore. Steve, what about you?
Yeah, I'm getting really into Age of Empires 4 and, of course, spending an infinite amount of time in Halo Infinite.
Wow. Cool. Anyway, just had to leave that silence in there. We'll probably add some crickets in post. And Josh, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, like everyone else, I've been obviously playing Halo Infinite since release, but I've spent the vast majority of my time playing Skyrim because Todd Howard suckered me in again. So we can discuss that a little bit later.
Yeah, well, I mean, why not now, even? Tell us about Skyrim.
Yeah, that's true. All right, we'll discuss it now. So, Skyrim, obviously it has been released for, God knows, the upteenth time. This time they've basically re-released the special edition and basically charged people for DLC that was in the Creation Club that you could already previously buy for the most part. I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but about 2/3 of the stuff they added in was actually new. It wasn't a previous mod, so there's some props there. I've been playing the Steam version, which was a $30 upgrade. I know that the console edition for at least PlayStation had an upgrade path as well that you could take. I'm not too sure about Xbox, but I imagine it would be. If not Game Pass.
Is there a way to even buy it new? Like, are they just assuming that everyone has Skyrim and then will therefore just upgrade at some point, or can you actually buy the Anniversary Edition like without owning a previous copy?
So you can buy the Anniversary Edition if you don't have the Special Edition. So if you just had the base Skyrim game that wasn't like the remaster sort of fix-up thing they did a couple of years back, you basically have to buy the Anniversary Edition. If you already have the Special Edition, you have the upgrade path through the DLC, which is, the $30 Australian, rather than like the $80 for the full Anniversary Edition.
See, at this point, I don't even know which version I have, but how have you been finding it now that it's in its, I guess, 10th year? I remember back when it came out, it was all my friends played, and it seems like some of them, yourself included, are still playing them ever since. But how have you found this edition compared to previous ones?
I mean, honestly, the first time you load it up, all you really notice that's different is that the silver icon in the main screen is now gold, like the Imperial icon. So that was like, oh, look, they changed something, it's new. And then you start loading the game, and straight off the bat, you get a few new things. After you leave the cart and escape Helgen, you get prompted for a few things, like if you want to turn survival mode on and stuff, which is like, you can't fast travel, you have to eat to stay alive, and you have to sleep, and if you're in the cold for too long, then you'll take like damage and stuff like that. So there's that game mode straight off the bat you get offered, as well as like a whole bunch of random quests and new spells, new weapons. Really everywhere I kind of went, I managed to find something new almost immediately. So honestly, I'm finding it pretty good.
Is it actually new content, or is it just kind of packaged up with popular community mods or other ways that you'd otherwise get this content on a previous version? They've just decided that they'd save you the step of downloading and managing it.
So for the most part, it is new content. Like I was saying, I don't have the numbers of what mods are new and which ones aren't, but I think it was like 20 odd previously released via Creation Club mods, and then I think 40 something were brand new that hadn't been implemented in Creation Club yet. So a lot of it is brand new. Some of it is, I guess, older that you could say. So I think fishing and stuff was one of the ones that was a bit older. I'd never touched any of the Creation Club content before because I just didn't really use the payment system that Bethesda built for mods. I always just went to like Nexus mod or something. So all of these mods are really new to me. But I think my favorite thing about them so far is that rather than mods on Nexus mod where you're really kind of overhauling something, all of these just add to the experience. So there's a few things that just add new spells that are just going to be a little bit more balanced and a bit more useful, or new weapons for different types of combat. So some of them don't have like soul charge depletion, stuff like that. Some of them tie in, like the weapon that I found that I still use as my main hand was actually part of the Thieves Guild questline. Basically, as you walk up in there, you find like this random quest in this like vault basically in the underground area where you go to the Thieves Guild, and there was a whole questline for that. They added fishing, which is apparently you end up with like trebuchets trying to take down a kraken or something, and giant ghost crabs. There's a whole bunch of various cool things. Probably not worth spoiling, probably not worth digging too far into, but I guess the last thing that I really want to say about it is that it did break SKSE, which is the Skyrim script extender mod, as well as Sky UI. So if you are relying on previous mods to play Skyrim, you'll probably have to wait for those to be upgraded to support this new version. Otherwise, if you like Skyrim, and you know who doesn't except for Seth because he has bad taste, then you'll like this.
Pretty bad.
No. RPG
Okay,
of the
yeah,
decade,
fair,
but
bad is an overstatement. I just found it very boring.
yeah, I mean it can be boring, but I think it was definitely
Make your own
worth the
fun.
money.
You make your own fun in that game.
You do. Like obviously you run around the map and just explore things as they pop up. So that's the kind of stuff I like, and who doesn't love like a semi-medieval setting with dragons? So
Most importantly, Josh, how many achievements did they add?
I don't think they actually added any achievements, but I haven't checked.
All right, thanks. Right, money saved.
Still at 100%. I mean, I don't
Dog
think
shit
they
game, put
have.
it in the trash.
Wow.
So is that hatred coming from a place of you're just like a superior like Daggerfall fan, or were you just not a fan of the Elder Scrolls series at all?
He doesn't like fun.
No, see, I just didn't really enjoy the combat of the game, and when like so the majority of the game is exploring, but when the other like major factor is the combat of the game, and I don't find that fun, it just didn't really engage me in a way that I would have liked. So I just left it after a few hours, like 10
Yeah,
hours.
so that's what I mean. Like you say that this one isn't to your taste, but did you prefer previous Elder Scrolls or like other Elder Scrolls
Oh no,
titles? or
Skyrim
just
is the
not
only
a,
one
not
I
a
ever
fan?
tried.
Ah, okay, cool.
You got to get into Morrowind.
I
Morrowind
did
is
like Fallout New
fantastic.
Vegas though.
Wow. Bad taste all around.
That's
New Vegas was okay.
that's Skyrim with guns.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
If
the
you want
guns
to play
are fun.
Skyrim with guns, you just use a bow.
Stealth
Archer
pistol
OP.
holder, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, they added new spells, they added new swords, both of which I've been trying my absolute hardest to use because I don't want to fall into yet another Stealth Archer playthrough. But there's been like several sections where actually the DLC is like genuinely hard sometimes. Like there's a whole bunch of new houses and stuff that were added, and some of those quests you sort of fight enemies that the rest of the world would usually scale up with you. So as you do like random encounters, you find like gargoyles and master vampires and stuff. Some of these DLC quests that you get given, you're fighting those a lot late stage game enemies rather, in very early in the game, which didn't really scale too well. So I ended up basically just cheesing them with the Stealth Archer thing just so I could get the house, so I had a house. But there was a whole bunch of various examples like that as well. I think stumbling into some of those Creation Club quests were very much meant for, hey, I've finished the game, what mods can I put in to further my experience in the game? And they've just packaged it as a whole into this, so maybe they need to tweak the balance a little bit. Like, I've been playing on the second hardest difficulty, and to beat one very specific fight, I had to turn it down to the absolute easiest and use all of my potions. So it was, I think it could use a bit of balance tweaking, but otherwise, no, it's been very, very, very good. Highly recommend.
Cool. Well, moving from one exploratory walking simulator to another, I will slip in and talk about how I picked up Road 96 for the next few minutes, just because it's the first new game that I've played in a few weeks at this point. Road 96. I actually don't remember who it's published by. I'm pretty sure indie-ish, definitely not like a large publishing group. It's very like Life is Strangey, Telltale gamesy. Got it for $30 New Zealand. So translate that into whatever currency. Although I think Josh and I were discussing this before, and it's $30 Australian as well, which means that Australians are absolutely getting scammed out of this. I've got no idea what the US dollar price on it is, but I found that pretty funny.
Wait, you're trying to say that it's like overpriced then?
No. What I mean is like because the Kiwi dollar is typically weaker. The fact that it's the same in both Australian and New Zealand dollars means it's cheaper for me.
So I should get a
New Zealand Steam
NordVPN
account.
and then use and then change the Steam account.
You absolutely could, although it would also be ExpressVPN depending on which sponsor reaches out to us first. So got to keep your options open there, Steve.
It's a race.
on, Surfshark.
Please, DMs are open.
Yeah.
So just throwing in here quickly, it is $29.96 on the Australian Steam store and published by DigiX Art, as well as someone called Ravenscourt.
Sweet. Those names mean absolutely nothing to me, but cool. So, Row 96, it's interesting. I was a big fan of Life is Strange 1 and Before the Storm. I have been playing little bits of Life is Strange 2, but it didn't grab me in the same way. And I also only played a couple of the Telltale games, but I've heard people drawing comparisons between those. But it's interesting. It's a game that for $30, I think it's probably worth its price at $30. I think it's towards the I'd certainly suggest picking it up if it was less than 30. And I certainly wouldn't suggest picking it up if it was more. So it's really on the fine line of price point. But the things that I like about it, the soundtrack is godly. I'm amazed at how good the soundtrack is. It's very sort of synth heavy. Trying to think, maybe Josh is a better way of describing it because we were discussing this before the show. But I would have said more kind of 80s synth. But is there any kind of genre or words that you could put to it that maybe would explain it a bit better, Josh?
I mean, I would say very 80s, 90s synth as well. Very synth pop, but synth pop without lyrics, basically. I don't really have an exact genre for it either. It's just very chill and very like open soundstage, expansive kind of just background noise, which is just really great. The 80s soundtrack I think definitely makes sense, but the game it's like for some reason describes it as 90s. I'm guessing because it's set in the 90s, but
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So I'll discuss the game a little bit. I should have said that at the start. I think the highest point of it is its soundtrack and basically how you interact with the soundtrack. What I mean by that is that the game itself, it's kind of hard to describe. It's set up so that you're in a nation. You're a teenager trying to run away to the border in the fake nation of Petria, and you're trying to escape a tyrannical leader. And the whole thing is that you're trying to journey to cross the border, and so it will just randomly start you. There's usually a choice of like 3 people that are just kind of faceless, personalityless shells that you can inhabit for what I've deemed a playthrough. I say I deem it a playthrough because the overall structure of it is that in a certain number of days, a big finale event's going to happen, and they made that really clear from the outset. There's this big thing that's going to happen. It's an election, because I don't think that's a spoiler. It's an election that's going to happen in a certain number of days down in the future. But to get there, it seems like you can take a character and get them to the border a number of times. I don't actually know how many times. I think, based on how I've been going at the moment, because I'm up to playthrough 4, and I've still got quite a bit of time to the election, I think I could probably get through at least 10 before the election. But it has a few issues. Well, I should say it does some things really well, and it does some things I think not great. One of the points that it sort of tries to sell you on is that the way that you, as the personalityless teenager, get to the border is by going through what I've just sort of termed a number of scenes where the whole thing is that you're traveling, but you travel through these distinct places. Some of these will be more story driven, some of these will be more gameplay driven. Usually they involve meeting or interacting with someone on a list of rotating characters. There's about 7 characters that come around quite a bit. And I don't actually know how many scenes there are because it depends on how far away from the border you start, but they're very discrete packets of story. But the problem is that they did this in a proc gen way, like a procedurally generated way. So you starting from the same place and getting to the same place might take very different paths. But it also tries to sell you that it's a game that's very narrative and story driven and very Telltale-like and very Life is Strange-like, but it doesn't work so well when the starting and end point have already been determined, and it feels like if the developers had just chosen for you, hey, if you pick option A, then you go here. If you pick option B, you go here, and then that for the number of playthroughs until the finale, it feels like it would be a better crafted experience than the randomness. Like, it feels like the randomness doesn't really add anything to the gameplay, which is a bit disappointing. The soundtrack, as I say, is super cool, and the soundtrack is very distinctive. Like, each of the characters has like a theme that's quite like, you almost hear what character you're going to be interacting with before you see them because they're very distinctive themes. The characters themselves are distinctive, but almost to the point where they're annoyingly distinctive. There's very few kind of uh, average Joe characters, which kind of serve as a nice stabilization point because you, as the player, you don't have a personality that interacts with anything. You just choose dialogue options with how you interact with the characters. But you've got like the bumbling burglar characters, the very, very obvious villain because his theme song is "I am the villain" theme, and so like that's very distinctive. You've got the like runaway teen with like the country music theme, but you don't really have anyone that you just you don't really have anyone that you just chat to and you're like, so how's your day? Bad? Yeah, mine's also been bad. Let's just sit in silence and travel for a bit. It's always like, let's just try and squeeze a bit of exposition out of these people, which again I think is just because it relies on the proc gen side of it a bit too heavily. Um, there was something else I was going to say to that. The art style of it I also quite like. It's very um, trying to think of the right word.
I mean, I would describe it as very Sea of Thieves mixed with like Fortnite.
Yeah, like it's fine. It doesn't do anything graphically amazingly, but it doesn't look bad. It looks quite good, and because it's a traveling simulator in some ways, the biomes that you travel through are quite distinctive because of the color palettes involved and the kind of like low poly esque sort of look, and then the volumetrics and things layered on top of it. Like it's not that distinctive, but it's not bad looking. So I think that works to its advantage. But yeah, the issues with it, I discussed the proc gen, but I think the other issue is that this big finale that it's trying to sell you on. The whole thing is that through these playthroughs, you're supposed to make choices, like uh, the Paragon Renegade options of BioWare games, or I guess Mass Effect specifically I'm thinking of, but the good and evil choices of Life is Strange, all that kind of stuff. It feels like they've tried to just put it in there to say that it's in there, and I'm sure it's going to come back in the finale. But for each playthrough that you go through, it doesn't feel like your choices have any weighting at all, which is kind of disappointing because you're spending 5 to 10 minutes in each of these scenes, and you're having these character moments and things, and then it's just like, oh, pick between these two choices, and whichever one you pick, it just doesn't feel like it matters. And I'm sure it will, down the line. But at the time, like, I know that I know that the choices do matter because you can get into tense moments, and the teen that I was guiding to the border through playthrough 2, I thought, I wonder what happens if I pick all the wrong choices, and the teen died. So I mean, they definitely don't expect you to get it right the whole time. But the weight of the fact that I've lost a teen getting to the border, I don't even know what that, like, whether that matters in the finale. I've got no idea what the implications of these choices are, and it feels like it's going to do this big reveal at the end where it's like, aha, here are all the choices that you made, and here's this super specific ending because you chose all of these things. But I don't think it's going to do that, and it just sort of, it's setting itself up for me to be just at least slightly disappointed when I do get to the finale. I do intend to get to the finale. It's an interesting game, but it hasn't, like, I haven't been able to just sink my teeth into it in the same way as other kind of multi-playthrough games. Like, I get to the end of a playthrough, it's kind of like, cool. I don't feel super obligated to start again because, again, it's the sort of element of randomness that I just don't have a stable point with which to know what I'm expecting out of the next playthrough. So yeah, a bit of a mixed bag. I I think the people that enjoy the narrative story-driven games would like it more, but I don't know if I'd go and actually recommend it to people. I think it's one of those, if you think it looks interesting, pick it up while it's on sale, particularly on Steam. I'm sure there'll be a sale coming up, probably a bit late for Black Friday, but Christmas, I'm sure they'll put it on sale at some point. But the soundtrack, wow, the soundtrack outside of the game, just listening to the soundtrack is so good. Um, yeah, you can find the soundtrack on like Spotify, just Road 96 OST. Some of the songs on there, particularly the sort of synth ones, fantastic. That's pretty much all I had to say about Road 96.
Actually, no. I'll cut in. Is it explained why it's called like Road 96 and not Road 69? Because that just seems like it would be infinitely more funny.
You mean why is it just a not nice game compared to what could have been a nice game?
Yeah.
Good question.
Why didn't it use the sex number?
I mean, if it's based in the 90s, it's probably 1996, I'm guessing.
Funnily enough, it is based in the 90s, but 96 kind of has multiple meanings. I'm pretty sure the election that is the big finale is the election of the country in 1996, but it's also just that the final road that you get to where you would cross the border. I'm pretty sure it is Road 96. There's probably there's like someone out there that's listening that's screaming at the computer going, "No, he got it wrong. He doesn't know what the number is." I've only made it to the border twice. Yeah, because I'm up to play through 4 now. So Road 96, it's mentioned in there, but I think it's more just kind of a consequence of the setting. I don't think it actually has any bearing. It could be Road 82 or any other number of them. If they do a sequel and they don't call it Road 97, then something's definitely up.
So the way you've described the game, it sounds like the developers really tried to get this mix between Telltale's type of storytelling games, but also a bit of Journey, where, like, because you said it has a definitive start and end point, Journey was a sort of similar game where your start and ends were predetermined, but it was a journey you made along the way that mattered, sort of thing. So it sounds like they kind of tried to do a blend between those, but would you say it was successful or not really?
I think like if you had just given me a list of everything that they have in this game and said we're going to make a game and it's going to have procedural generation, it's going to have narrative storytelling, it's going to have like choice-based gameplay, you're going to walk around and meet a bunch of like super distinctive characters, and it's going to have a slapping soundtrack, I would have said like I'm in, like sounds good. But the problem is that's such a weird mix of everything that like I can't think of a game that does all of those and gets away with it and is a super good game. I can think of games that do parts of what it does, but better. Like the story driven, like the narrative side of it with the choices. I think Life is Strange does better. I don't think Road 96 does worse, but the problem is you play through it and you think, oh man, this reminds me of an aspect of another game that you just liked more. So I don't think I think they are almost successful with it, but I think the bigger problem is that because they are almost successful with it, you just kind of jump the gap to thinking of a game that was successful with it. And that's kind of where it falls down a little bit.
That's such a shame, actually. Like that, just the way you end that off of like it feels like something else has done it better, and it's just kind of middling is like such a bad place for a game to land.
Yeah, and it's annoying because like I I want to like the game, and I've liked the game more. Like the first playthrough I did, I didn't understand it. I approached it in the wrong way, and the game doesn't do a great job of explaining. Like it's one of those, it just kind of throws you into the deep end, and it expects that the story exposition will just kind of carry you through it and get you up to speed. But it doesn't make that clear. And then you get to the end of a playthrough and you're like, oh, did I win? And then it says like, aha, but surprise, you've made one teen escape the country, but now you need to do it again because we have this big election coming up. And it's so much setup. It's just like, oh, it's so close. Like if they just I think the biggest thing is that if they'd removed the procedural generation and they just handcrafted the pathways that they expect players to take for at least the first few playthroughs just to ease you into it, I think it would have been just a sweet spot for it, because the bits that it gets right are really cool. Like the bumbling burglar characters, just as an example, that came up before, um, they like I arrived into like a discrete piece of the playthrough, which I just call a scene. I've got no idea if there's a better word for it. I arrive on the scene, and these two bumbling burglars are trying to break into like a cab, like a taxi. We don't really have them anymore with Uber and things, but like where like a bus depot basically, but for taxis.
Taxi rank.
Yeah, that kind of thing, with like the offices and stuff. And so here I was thinking, I've just got no idea what this interaction is going to be like, um, because I'm trying to just get to the border. I don't really I don't know what could happen here that would make it better or worse to get to the border. And that whole scene plays out as the two burglars are just like, yo, you want to help us break into this like bus depot, like this taxi rank, and you just sort of go along with it. You're like, okay, cool, and then you do it, and it's great, and then you just move to the next scene, and it's kind of like, well, that was so isolated that it doesn't feel like it had any bearing on the story. And it might come back later, who knows? But yeah, I intend to play it. I'm sure I'll speak about it. I'm sure I'll speak about it again in some future episode once I've finished it. But for now, it's just one of those such a close, but just a little bit on the near miss side for me games.
Can we get like I mean, the Steam positives are the Steam reviews are very positive. Can we get like a rating out of 10?
I'd give it a 6. Like it's like just above average, and I think for its price, if it was to go on sale, definitely worth looking at. But
we're doing
yeah.
normal people 6 and not game review 6, right?
Yeah, normal people like
Just
five
above
is,
average. 5 is a passing grade.
Yeah, five is like the I could take it or leave it. I'd say it's more on the take it than the take it or leave it side, but it's definitely not a game that I'd be actively recommending to people unless they already liked that sort of game.
Yeah, that seems fair.
But that's all I'll say about Road 96 for now. Shall we throw it to Seth? Let's talk about you finishing off Jack X.
Right, sure. So so last time I talked about Jack X, I had done 3/4 of the game. I finished off the last quarter like the day after we recorded. Not that much more of a difficulty spike, honestly. It was pretty easy. The fun thing about the Final Cup is it just lets you use every vehicle from across the other classes. So the first cup is you get class 1 cars. The second cup is class 2 cars. Third cup is class 3. And then the fourth cup is just, hey, go ham. You might have a car that's more upgraded in the other classes, so use those while you upgrade other things. But yeah, it wasn't too much longer. I finished it in like it took me a total of like 4 or 5 hours to finish, and the ending cutscene for that game is one of the most hilarious things. I absolutely love Jack because it's the most mid 2000s energy game series that I enjoy. But to give context, basically you have to gun down a crime boss at the very end after you get after you finish. Once you gun him down, he has this like big villainous speech against Jack, and as Jack starts walking away, goes, "You have a habit of letting people die, don't you?" And Jack, without batting an eye, just keeps walking away and goes, "You get used to it." And the moment he finishes that line, the villain's car just explodes on them.
Wow.
So is it like him walking away slowly as the explosion goes off?
And he doesn't even look back.
Yeah, he doesn't even look back. He as soon as he finishes the one-liner, the car blows up. And then cut, next scene, everyone's celebrating.
So if we have a very big mid-2000s energy scene, is there a big mid-2000s song that you would recommend that would go along with that scene?
I don't know about that scene specifically, but the game does have Queens of the Stone Age for its intro theme.
Nice.
They just straight up got the license to use Millionaire for their intro.
Nice.
So will the sequel to Jack X be Jack 2X?
It'd be like
And
Final Fantasy
then
Jack
the sequel
X
to that.
Yeah.
The sequel to so the trilogy will be finishing in Jack's XXX, which will only be released on adult platforms. Is that what's going on?
You're
Is that
making
the
a
play?
Ratchet and Clank title joke for a Jack game. I don't approve.
I don't know. I haven't played any of these games. It's all the same, isn't it?
There's multiple directions they could go if the series wasn't dead. My personal favorite would be it's Jack X squared, and then Jack X cubed.
I do like that one actually.
Ah, wow. All right.
Do we have info on why it's actually called Jack X and not Jack 4?
Because X is extreme and it's about combat racing.
Oh, that's so cringe, but I'm here for it. That's so
big
2000s.
mid-2000s right there.
Yeah.
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 It's the same reason why the fourth Ratchet and Clank game is like Ratchet Deadlocked.
It's just Ratchet Gladiator.
Yeah, Ratchet Gladiator over here, Ratchet Deadlocked in the US.
Yeah.
Maybe the sequel could be called like Jackass or something.
Man,
Again with the Ratchet
Get the
and
full
Clank title
2000
jokes.
energy.
you're just upsetting me with these because the series isn't coming back anytime soon, if at all.
It's dead. Just
Well, do
like
we know?
Naughty
Like,
Dog making
what
good
was the
games.
sales data? What was the sales data? Like, if it sold well, surely they'll bring it back.
Jack sold multi-millions every game. Like they were financially successful. It's just that Naughty Dog is in such a different direction at the moment that they regularly say they'd love to go back to Jack, but it's just not in the cards at the moment because they're off making the new Uncharted's and the Last of Us's and just being the big juggernaut of the industry when it comes to storytelling games.
Kind of sadly.
Me and the other two PlayStation Vita owners out there will know that they re-released Jack 1 through 3 for Vita, and I assume other lesser consoles as well. But
PS3. They're also
other lesser consoles. That's what I said. But yeah, I don't think that they put Jack X onto the Vita, which is a shame.
They did not. It's on PS4 through the PlayStation 2 classics. They did all of the Jack games on there, and that's how I've been playing them. But yeah, that's about all I got to add for Jack X. It's a fantastic game. I'm doubling down on. It's my favorite racing game.
And if by some miracle people see it on Steam, what rating would you give it out of 10?
At 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Can we say an X out of 10?
Would you say, yeah, damn it.
Got him.
I'm sorry I missed that.
Well, Josh, you won. You get the reward of saying the joke again and hoping it doesn't die.
I said, would you give it an X out of 10?
Oh, god damn it, yes.
Dabs.
Thanks for making me repeating myself to make him sound like a jackass.
Which is the sequel to Jack X.
Yeah. And it comes full circle. Thank you for that, Seth. Steve, what have you been playing that isn't Halo Infinite? Because I'm sure we'll get to that discussion soon.
So I've got to Age of Empires, which released a couple of weeks ago. Age of Empires 4, the newest release, through the magical wonders of Game Pass. I'm playing it on my laptop. How do I put this in a way that doesn't sort of push the game down? It's sort of in a way very much the same. It's essentially the same game. It's Age of Empires has a great formula. It's pretty good. Why redo a circle if it's already a circle and it goes pretty fast? It does look pretty good. I'm running it on my laptop, and even on the lower settings, the fan is pretty loud, but it still looks pretty good. It's probably a very bad metric to judge it if I'm playing it on low, but it still runs fine. I haven't had any crashes or anything. It plays really well. It feels very responsive and all that kind of thing. I've been getting really into the story mode. So the story mode's a little bit different to what it was in your Age of Empires 2 and 3. It does follow the different the different civilizations, but it tells it in a sort of documentary way. So, for example, with the Anglo-Saxons, it starts off with, I think it's the 1100s, and it goes for about 300 and 400 years, and it follows them through. And between each campaign, you've got a documentary sort of overlay, there's a voice talking, and there's pretty much a video playing of the scene of the fight of where it was, what it looks like now, if it's a city or if it's just literally a field there. And the nice little documentary is pretty much oh yeah, this is where they fought. They fought because of this reason, and it looks really good.
So it does. So I haven't actually played it yet. Sadly, I need to pick it up, but I just haven't had time. It sounds like it's going through real world events. Does it actually have a coherent? This is what happened in history throughout the campaign.
Yes.
Oh, that's
yes. Yeah. So it's pretty much some kings come through. He's fighting France yet again, and then he eventually beats France by crossing the river, going to Normandy, kicking them out. He has 2 sons. Then the king dies, and it's no, I promised it to the other one. I promise. All right, we're at war.
Okay, so literally history then.
Yeah, it's essentially what it is.
I have a question. Is Age of Empires the game where Gandhi can become so pure that he ends up becoming
that's
100%
Civilization.
corrupted?
No.
Damn. Okay.
No, that's Civilization.
Okay.
Yeah. So very much sort of not really in the same vein, but still sort of historically accurate, depending on which side of history you're looking at. But there's only 8 civilizations you can pretty much pick from in Age of Empires, which is sort of a bit underwhelming considering with Age of Empires 2 and Age of Empires 3 there was significant amount, and I think by the end of the DLC Age of Empires 2 had more than 25 or something, or 30.
It was quite a
but
lot,
each Yeah, it was a significant amount. But at the same time, look at the age of Age of Empires 2 versus what?
Do they have plans
Age of Empires
for
4.
DLC for 4 to start boosting those numbers?
Yeah, from what I understand, they do. They haven't really announced anything yet, but they pretty much have just said, "Oh yeah, more's coming." What that looks like, who really knows?
Yeah.
Will it just be sort of a completely unique skin over something, or over a campaign, or over a civilization that already exists? But it's sort of good to play with the different civilizations because they play very differently.
Or
Like it's
alternatively, it could be like, was it Age of Empire? Was it also Age of Empires that got? No, it might have been Age of Mythology that got DLC like 10 years after it had
No,
released.
that was Age of Empires 2. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's Age of Empires 2. Yeah,
Oh,
because
okay,
when
it
they
was
brought
Age of Empires.
yeah, because they brought out their definitive edition of that, and it was like, well, to celebrate this, have more DLC.
That's right. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. It was.
Yeah, because I got into Age of Empires 2 last year during lockdown. It holds up fantastically, and maybe because I came at it from that point of view, didn't really feel like Age of Empires 4 had changed too much. Like they've done some balance tweaking, and it's no longer that triangle of spears beating horses, horses beating archers, archers beating spears. There's a bit more technique to it and what you can do. So that's in respect to that, that's sort of changed. But it's a tried and tested formula. It works great. I really enjoy it. It plays fantastically. I saw someone online saying it's pretty much like returning home to an old friend that's changed his clothes. Like it's still the same thing, just with a fancy new coat of paint. It's If you're really into RTSs, go ahead and play it. Even if you're not into RTSs, I can still recommend it because everybody sort of got the memories of both Age of Empires 1 and Age of Empires 2 when you were kids.
Yeah, pulling it out of a
If you don't have those
box.
memories, yeah, you're getting the disc in the Nutrigrain packet and then trying to install it and convincing your parents that there wasn't a virus.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, I
exactly.
tried
Yeah.
to do that so much as a kid, and I just was not allowed to use those CDs.
Well,
Well, remember CDs in general. Like, remember, does any computer have a disk drive anymore? You can't do it. Times have changed, man.
Now it's just M.2 drives and Nutrigrain boxes. It's crazy.
hey, look, someone 3D printed a save button.
Harking back to ye old times. Eight-year-old me has a question. How are the cheat codes in this compared to like previous titles in Age of Mythology?
Oh, I hate to say it, but I haven't tried it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't looked them up or seen anything about it. I assume there is something there.
I
Oh,
actually
I
don't
hope
know
so.
if there
That
is
was
any.
such a
Yeah.
core part where you'd start a lobby with friends and then just accidentally leave the cheat codes on.
Yeah, well, there probably is it, knowing Microsoft Studios and we're harking back to what it was. There probably are in there. I just haven't really looked them up. I did 2 online games on the weekend. Netcode seemed fine. I was just very, very bad, so I got flogged. So that's pretty depressing, but
If your APM
On
isn't
that
at
grind,
least
right?
130, get out, go practice.
yeah.
Could you
So,
imagine it
okay, I'm
becoming
not
because Age of Empires and even Age of Mythology, they were all like pre-mainstream esports days. I wonder if this will get any kind of. I assume there'll be like some tournament for it at DreamHack or something, but I wonder if this will get any kind of not it's not going to become StarCraft 2 or anything, but I wonder what
mean,
the esports scene for it would be
when
like.
Activision Blizzard has to fall eventually, something's going to replace StarCraft and Warcraft 3. I mean,
Yeah,
Warcraft
true.
3 killed itself, but StarCraft.
It's happening faster
Also,
than we're expecting.
Well, so actually, after I got absolutely plowed in the first game, I'm like, you know what? Instead of just picking the Germans and hoping for the best, how about I go watch a couple of YouTube videos? So I went down that rabbit hole of like different build strategies and stuff, and I ended up picking the Mongolians. And essentially, the Mongolians can literally pack all their buildings up and go somewhere else, which is pretty wild
See,
when you think about it.
I'm surprised by that because you've just said that it's based on history, and yet you picked the Germans and hoped that it went well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's a video game. Video games aren't real, right?
What version of history do you think happened? they lost. They lost big.
Yeah, they lost all the time as well. But it's different. I could have changed it. I could have made it better.
You could change
I
it.
did not.
You can
we're,
fix it.
we're going to stop this right now before we get letters, but it serves an interesting point.
Yeah. So essentially, like the Mongolian special feature is that they can pack up because, true to history, they were a nomadic tribe and they pretty much went from place to place doing whatever they wanted, and that's reflected in their sort of how you play them. It's like You go in there, you take your resources, you get out type of thing. And it's sort of the build strategy I was watching shows that they're very easy to set up for beginners, but at the same time, if you play it perfectly, you'll win any game. But because I did not play them perfectly and I mined for a bit too long, I just need a bit more gold. And because I was like mining gold for an extra like minute, I just wasn't ready. Which is fine. It's a learning experience.
So if you're a master and you play them perfectly, you can win any game. But if you screw them up, or I guess your current experiences with them, you can't win any game.
But then at the same time, maybe I'm just versing the top ranked person. So it's not that I'm bad. It's just that they're infinitely better and they've spent their entire lives doing it.
Yeah,
like I'm probably
and
getting
they should
mocked on
probably
some.
go outside at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe they should go outside and touch grass. But then at the same time, like, their Twitch stream might be like, "Oh, look, this dickhead, he's done it wrong," and I just don't know.
Getting critiqued by like a stranger's chat on the internet.
Oh man, yeah, that's a very
late
That's
stage
the vibe.
capitalism is growing.
yeah. Are you getting made fun of if you don't know? You get made fun of, right?
Yeah, true. If,
You're
if
playing
your
this on your
donations
laptop,
aren't
right?
around to tell someone they're doing it wrong, is it ever really happening?
You're playing this on your laptop, right?
Yes.
Did you? I mean, your laptop is not a gaming laptop by any means. Did you download the 4K texture pack as well?
No, God, no.
Yeah, okay. I was just curious.
No. Because I'm on the Xbox app thing or whatever garbage thing that they're peddling out for the Game Pass on PC. Like it does give you that option. Like, oh, do you want to download the 4K pack? And I'm like, oh, like, do I? And then I'm like, you know what? Let's see if the game boots up first.
I believe the words you're looking for are the Games for Windows Live 2 sequel Electric Boogaloo.
No, the Xbox app is infinitely better than the horror that was a game for Windows Live. Nothing will ever compete with that mess.
I don't know, Ubisoft, you playing up pretty close.
Oh, yeah. And Origin as well. Man, Origin was great. Why don't they bring that
Yeah, I
back?
love clicking Origin, then hearing my fans go, "Brrrr."
Oh, no, I left it on default programs. Run on startup.
Yeah, it's run on startup. Time
good
to
for-
turn my computer on and go make myself a 3-course meal.
What do you mean? You cook the thing on your CPU once Origin turns on, you know?
It's good for being comfy in the winter, but if it's above zero, nah.
So your laptop without the 4K textures dying, I'm guessing still.
Well, it's not dying. It just runs pretty loud and pretty hot. And I've got it like a laptop stand and plugged into some monitors, so it's like off the ground. But I bet if I had it on my lap, I'd have 3rd-degree burns. But I played a couple of other games. I think it was like Total War or one of the Total War games. I think it was like Shogun. And like that would, and even on like mega low, that would get to the point where like it would like overheat and just shut the laptop down. And it hasn't done.
It makes sense.
Which never a good sign. But it never got to that. Like it got pretty loud, got pretty toasty. But like I think I was playing like 3.5 hours over the weekend, and it never got to that, which is good. But then at the same time, maybe next time I boot it up, my laptop's just going to catch fire.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone that is listening, it's going, oh, I wonder if I can run it. This is literally like an 8th gen i7, I think, with integrated graphics. So if you have anything with a graphics card, you'll probably be perfectly fine.
Yeah, but so that's Age of Empires. Do we want to jump straight into the Halo Infinite chat, lads?
Yeah, no, I think we have to start the Juggernaut at some point, so let's do it.
Sounds good. So I guess I'll probably just end up moderating this because I think I'm the only one of us that hasn't played it yet. Does that be right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Doing yourself a disservice. It's free to play. You got no excuse.
That's true. No, my main excuse is that due to some electrical issues at my place, live action multiplayer or multiplayer games that require any amount of either latency or reaction time haven't been going particularly well. Anyway, Infinite, let's get into that. So I guess we'll hear from Josh first.
I guess so. May as well. So obviously, for anyone that isn't really familiar with Halo, it is currently due out on the 9th of December, if I have my dates correct, which I'm pretty sure I do. And when they did the 20th anniversary Halo event, which we'll talk about a little bit later, they decided to release the beta publicly 3 weeks early.
I'm sorry, but you just called that the 20th anniversary Halo event.
Well, it is a Halo event. It's dropped the same on Halo as it is on Xbox, so it's both.
Yeah, but I just mean that it was supposed to be a 20th anniversary event for Xbox, not Halo specifically.
I
But,
mean, everything I want to talk about from that event is based around solely like Xbox, but yeah, fair point. I probably should have called it an Xbox event, and I think most people just went, "Oh, good, Halo," and ignored the rest of it. But yeah, they released it 3 weeks early. It is still in beta. I've had very considerable bug problems, but the game itself is pretty stable. Like once you're actually in a match, and it's really fun. I mean, I think Seth's probably played the most of it out of us, as well as ranked. So maybe you'd be best to sort of start talking about the combat and everything, and then we can sort of dig into the rest of it from there.
Right, so actually when it comes to multiplayer Halo, I've mostly played like couch with friends, so like 3 to 4 player split screen. I've never really been too into like the actual online of it. But
Wow, local co-op. Wow,
I know.
Couch
Remember that?
King.
Remember Split Screen? Remember Split Screen?
Yeah, remember
CRT
split
that
screen?
was like 20 inches.
Remember,
Man.
remember when we could have friends round to our houses?
Remember, friends?
The TV show.
Oh no, let's not do this.
Yeah, I guess the first question is it still the same when you organise a sleepover with 3 of your best mates?
No, because you'll all have to be on separate Xboxes with separate internet, all of them hooked up to the internet to play.
Separate TVs.
Yeah, separate
Separate,
TVs or monitors or
Game
whatever
Pass
you have at
subscriptions.
hand.
A separate Game Pass subscription.
It's true. No, you don't need that.
I know
because
it's
the
true.
game
It's
is
just
free.
yeah, no, just conceptually, it's just funny that could be a requirement for say the campaign when that's out.
Yeah,
Well, it will be, and I think you need Xbox Live on the Xbox still to play it online. So, I don't know about if that's entirely accurate, but potentially at least an Xbox Live subscription.
No, I don't think you need an Xbox Live subscription.
I thought Microsoft had
because
made
if-
it already where free games don't require it anymore.
They
They
might.
used
This
to,
is the
but I
only
think
free
they
game
got
I've
rid of it
played.
because PlayStation said, "Nah, don't need it."
Wow, Sony.
Yeah, I'm
doing
pretty sure
something
that
innovative
yeah.
first. That seems wrong.
Yeah, it's usually the other way around. Sony's usually on the tails of other people when it comes to online services or anything.
True. All right, so first time playing not split screen on multiplayer.
So
Which thoughts?
the game's a lot more like Halo 3 than the other Halos. It has I wouldn't call them Halo Reach tier because there's no jetpack or anything, but it does have power ups that around the map you can pick up now. So you get the grapple hook, you get invisibility, overshield, and everything. And they're all just lying around the map at certain points, or sometimes they'll drop in and your AI partner will tell you. I'll get into the AI partner in a little bit, but yeah, just generally you start off with like an assault rifle or a battle rifle, depending on if you're in ranked or open games, and a pistol on the side if it's not ranked. And you just find like the shotguns, the rocket launchers, and everything around the map, and that's kind of how I like my Halo multiplayer experience. So I'm glad that they've resorted back to that. And big team modes are a lot of fun, like having a bunch of people jump into a warthog and just go around into another base, getting 2 people on a mongoose, going to cap a flag and then running it back within 30 seconds of the game starting is just as fun as it's always been.
Yeah, and the big team mode for anyone that hasn't played the game yet is 24 people, 12 aside, 3 squads of 4. So it is kind of cool the way they've done that. I think that's the first time they've really had something like that with the squads inside the game. I didn't play
so
much Halo 5
what do
multiplayer,
the
but
squads do? What do the squads add? Why aren't you just all 12v12?
Because the game's a game's ranked mode and main multiplayer modes are based around 4v4 games, and they've got smaller maps to coincide with those. Like when it comes to Halo esports, 343 really wants to push like the smaller games like of the 4v4 teams and like get small groups of esports teams together. But to mitigate they have all these like flourishes like showing your 4 people in the squad together at the start of the game. So just to keep those things in the big game modes and like not have to code around removing it,
Oh, I
they
see.
keep the squads in the big mode to show all those like little cinematics and things.
Two other questions on that, just because I realized we didn't properly address it. So the multiplayer itself is currently in beta and it's currently free to play. Is the fully released multiplayer coming out December 9th or whenever that is that going to remain free to play? And then the follow-up was, actually I already gave that one away, is that yes, this is just the multiplayer because the campaign isn't out yet. But is the multiplayer going to remain free to play?
Yeah, the
Yes.
multiplayer is going to remain free to play, and the way they're going to monetize it is by having a battle pass system in place, which we'll get to in a little
Oh
bit.
boy.
Yeah, oh boy. We'll get to that in a little bit though. I guess I'll quickly touch on the AI partner because that's also like, I guess like a fifth party member sort of situation for you, where you have a button where they can scan the map and show you where weapons are and things like that, and where all the power ups are and objectives.
Oh, really? Oh, so I have only played about I just hit. You play like 10 games and you can start with ranked, and that's just where I got to this morning. Where I was like, okay, I'll play at this Arvo, and then I never did. So the AI partner's like always talking to you, saying when there's like a weapon drop isn't inbound. So is the button sort of like because in ranked you don't have a radar, which is a whole separate thing.
Yeah.
But does the AI partner replace the radar?
It's in both like unranked and ranked modes. You can use the AI partner to scan, but it just like does like a echolocation sort of thing, and it'll highlight things in your field of view.
Okay. So, asking for a friend, what is that button?
On
Are you
Xbox, I have
on
no
are you on
idea.
mouse and keyboard, or are you on controller?
No, controller.
I-
Xbox Series X Master Race.
Either
checking
up
in.
or down on the D-pad, I think.
Right, fantastic.
Yeah,
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna have a bit of a whinge about the Xbox controller for a bit.
go for it.
Yeah, go
So,
on.
so I'm not sure if you guys have like the newest Xbox One Series X or Series S controllers,
I do not.
but they've got like this. They've essentially made like a middle button that's like a share button, which
God damn it, you're still going on about this.
and I'll always be going on about this until you can rebind it. So essentially, the idea is that like you press the button and like it captures like a moment. I think it's like the last 30 seconds of your game or an actual screenshot of what's going on, and that's you'll just be able to share it in social media and blah blah blah. That's useless to me. I don't care.
Yeah.
So give me the option to rebind it. But so this morning, I got like a triple kill within the first 3 seconds of the match, and I'm like, fuck yeah, you know what? I want to share this. I wasn't using the Xbox Series X controller. I was using the Xbox One controller, which doesn't have the fucking share button. So if anybody had seen, they would have seen me like press the middle button, but that doesn't exist on this controller, and it would have been, and then it was just like me, like, oh fuck, like I just did the coolest thing I'll ever do, and I can't like record.
If only
it
there
or
was some
anything.
way that we could share that, perhaps with an easy-to-reach button press. No, I had the same complaints with the PlayStation 4 controller because I'm used to pressing like select on a PlayStation controller to open like a map, for example, and then PlayStation 4 comes along and goes, "We're going to make this the share button."
Yeah,
so
that was
Yeah.
Like several, because I don't even have a PlayStation 4, which is even worse because it means that all my muscle memory just fades whenever I'm at a friend's house and then just like returns slowly. So I'm always at a friend's house playing and like, oh, let me just pop the map open real quick. And then nothing happens. And then 5 seconds later, social media pops up going, hey, would you like to share the moment of you having no idea where you are?
See, I think
No.
they
Best part about
I
it.
think they kind of fixed that with the PlayStation 5 controller because they've moved the share button a bit further up left to the corner, and where you're
I still press it as
where
select.
you're
Where is my select?
No,
what if
that-
I wanted to
that's-
select something, Seth?
that's what I'm about to get into. Give me a second. What would normally be where the select button is the left side of the touchpad, which is now what select would have been.
But then what if I don't want to
like
share
the
anything?
things. Stop trying to make me advertise your platforms.
I love the share buttons. I always save little bits of clips, and it's something that I like about the PlayStation version is that they're much more extensive in that you can save up to the last hour, but it asks you, hey, do you want to save a 15-second clip, a 30-second clip, or the last minute, last 5 minutes, and it keeps upping the ante into bigger chunks until you get to
Okay.
like an hour. So
Xbox does the same thing. You just have to define it in the settings.
Yeah.
But why would you bother?
Why, I'm here to play the game, not to take screenshots. But then at the same time, I guess it's just sort of like I did the coolest thing I'll ever do in a Halo game. I could have shared it, but I didn't.
would you like me to help
Man.
you save face on that, Stephen?
No, I'll never do it again. Lightning never strikes.
No,
I'll be
there's a
lucky to
theater
get
mode,
a
so you
double
can
kill.
just go back to that game and replay it with your Xbox
There is?
Series X controller, and hit share when you get to that point.
Oh god, we did it. Like, does it? Is there? Oh, you know
The
what? I'm gonna
future
do
is
that straight
now,
away.
boys.
Oh wow.
It's just in the community tab. I think it's called. You can go to a theater and rewatch your last few matches. I'm very annoyed about that though, because I had a very good couple of clips in one game, and that game is inaccessible to me because so many people quit and left the match. It just doesn't know what to do.
Ah, okay. Interesting. I've never had anybody drop out of a match, but maybe I just haven't played enough to know.
I was playing about 30 minutes before we did this podcast with a few people in Discord, and as we entered the first game, there was the squad of 4 of us in the opening cinematic, and all of a sudden one of them just disappeared in like a little puff of smoke, and I was like,
Yeah,
Wait,
when
what?
someone disconnects
And it
before
turns
a
out that he
game
just, like,
starts, they
alt
just
F4'd.
disappear like that and
Yeah.
break apart. It's the funniest
yeah, I was like, wait, what the hell? It's like he didn't get a squad with his teammate, so he just like alt F4'd, which is something I actually have to complain about the game, is that if you're in a fire team and you queue up together and you have under 4 people, why do you not put in the same squad automatically? Why does it randomly distribute you between the 3
that's
squads?
also really annoying because
Really?
yeah,
Oh shit.
I was playing with
It's
2
so
other people
dumb.
last night, and we kept getting into games where we were separated into 3 different squads across the game.
Is it really that
Which,
bad
you
though?
know-
Like, if you're all on the same team, even if you're amongst different squads, would it
So-
really play out that differently if you're in the same squad?
Your squad partners' names are highlighted in green, while the rest of your team is all blue. So if your friends aren't in the same squad as you, then you got to try and pick out their names from the crowd of blue.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the voice chat is limited to your squad either. I don't think it is.
It's limited to your team.
to your team.
Because when I was
okay.
playing Tuesday night, I got cussed out pretty bad. Rightfully so. I was being a fuckwit.
And not even by the enemy. The call was coming from
Yeah,
inside
but
the house.
yeah, it was from essentially. It's what am I supposed to do? He's in a warthog driving around, and I like go up to him to.
And you just wanted to take your plasma grenades for a walk.
No, I was trying to get in the turret, but he kept like thinking I was on when I wasn't. So I'm not sure if that was like a bit of a lag thing. And he's like cussing me out. It's like, oh, computing bullet, get on the thing. And I kept going up, and he kept driving off like that gag where it's like you got to get in the car and your friend.
Just get in the car and you accelerate.
So that's what, at first I thought that's what he was doing, but then like he's like, you can tell like he's just physically or vocally getting angry about it. And then like
Just
he moved
reverses and runs
backwards.
over you.
And then I hopped in like the passenger side.
The screen
I'm like,
starts
why am I
shaking
sitting
and
in
you know he stands up.
So then I get out and then he just drives away. He's like, "Fuck you! You don't know how learn how to play the game." And I'm just sitting there getting worked up. Video games are fun.
You know what
right?
the real problem was? You had latency because you were playing on the Series X and not on the PC.
Well,
No, I'm kidding. I love my Series X.
well, but at the same time, so on that note, like crossplay is like automatically enabled. Like you can't turn it off or on. So I'm not sure if that's an
Yeah.
issue. But I'm not sure if
It's
I
only
mean,
an issue when you
the
queue up
auto
with
aim that
Xbox One
console
players, and
people
you can
get-
tell because the
oh.
loading times are way longer.
And they never
I mean,
get in
they
the
also,
warthog.
like-
it was his dickhead going into the
auto
passenger
aim is
seat.
the worst part. Like PC, you use your mouse, and yes, it is a more precise accuracy tool. But on a controller, if I pick up a controller, I can just like activate zoom, and it will just snap to the person's head. Like,
Yeah, the
Oh.
aim
Nah,
assist is
I'm not a
really
fan.
Brutal in this game, like it's so overtuned.
it's insane.
I find that like taking the time to do the zoom though, you've already lost like that valuable first shot in getting it
I
off.
mean, you shoot and zoom at the same time.
So I had a moment
Two
in one of
things at
the
the same
first
time.
games I was playing where I was aiming on someone like a fair bit away on the map, and I was aiming for I aimed for their head, but as I shot, like the recoil just missed them a little bit, like it bounced down and hit their chest. But then as I was going for the second shot, someone drove past and the aim assist just snapped onto them and shot my field of view to the right. It's really brutal, that aim assist. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't think crossplay is enabled for ranked mode
It
though.
is, but
Nah, it's
you
always
have-
turned on. 'Cause
Yeah, it is enabled, but you can pick, but you have to pick between playing keyboard and mouse or playing on controller. You can't do cross
Oh,
controller.
okay, that's a good
versus-
system.
yeah, which is good because I would get absolutely flogged. But so you're saying that the loading times are because people are playing on the Series X
On the
Oh,
Xbox
interesting.
One.
I mean,
Series
that's
X
just
would be
Oh,
fine because they have the
true.
SSD. Xbox One
Yeah,
is
that's
on
how.
hard drive.
Okay, Imagine having like
There are also
yeah.
probably people with PCs as old as Patrick's that are also trying to play this
That
game.
too.
Hey,
that might have some loading issues.
I only get the streaming data errors in Forza when I'm driving at 350 k's an hour, which I don't. Well, actually, there is a Warthog in Forza Horizon. Maybe I would, but no. I finally moved to the 21st century and bought myself an SSD in a Black Friday sale, so no more issues for me.
Thank you, Papa Amazon.
No, that was actually local. I didn't even have to check Amazon.
Oh,
I was
even
going to
better.
ask, now that weapons are distributed randomly around the map, has that influenced how you guys like to play out maps? Do you guys like, are the weapons always in the same locations? Does it make you guys want to run to certain parts of the map all the time?
So in the actual Halo world, we probably didn't explain this too well, but there are various spawn points that are things for like weapons, the upgrades for the equipment, and certain vehicles that are always where they are on the map. And then they do like airdrops to drop in like other vehicles that shoot different, or maybe a rocket warthog instead of a gun one, stuff like that. When something is picked up, it'll either be completely closed over so that you don't see the gun there if it's mounted on a wall, or it will be like a ghost sort of Cortana silhouette of what was there, so that you know what's there the next time you sort of run past it. So if you like go to pick up a gun and it's like shining blue and it's see-through, you know, oh cool, someone's already got that gun before me, but at least now I know that gun's there. And yeah, it is consistent. So the sniper rifle will spawn in the same spot, and the battle rifles will spawn in the same spot, stuff like that.
Yeah, and the more
I
powered
think it
type
would-
weapons like the rocket launchers and stuff are usually airdropped in. But there is one game map in the 4v4 maps where there's a rocket launcher right in the middle of the map. And you can always see the countdown timer on that, and your AI partner will tell you when the rocket launcher is at about 20 seconds away from spawn, and everyone just converges onto that point right away.
That's
Yeah.
super cool, actually. So I guess with those spawns in mind, what would your favorite weapons be, or what are the weapons you try and aim for when you're in multiplayer?
Oh god. So they've got like a bunch of new ones that are a bit different. Like there's, I think it's called the Heat Wave, and that pretty much shoots out like sort of like 4 orbs, and they sort of like bounce around.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of the heat wave.
Yeah, it's one of those
You
things
can
that like
apparently swap the fire for that, so it shoots like one shot. I did it earlier today. I don't remember what the button
The
was.
aim button
but it went
switches
from,
it
like,
between
shooting-
vertical and horizontal aiming.
so that's
Very cool.
what they do in Dead Space.
Yeah, it is too.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a bit of a weird throwback they've got going on there.
Throwback.
I usually like to use shotguns, but I'm actually not that big of a fan of the shotgun in this game. Like just a standard shotgun, it feels a little too weak.
Oh, they nerfed the hell out of
Yeah,
the
and
shotgun.
it's called like the Bulldog or something, and I think that's the shittest name for a gun.
Yeah, they change the names to a lot of things. Like the rocket launcher in this is called the Spanker, which I actually think is a
Yeah.
pretty good name for that.
I like that change.
Yeah, that one's fine, but the bulldog for the shotgun is a bit
I actually still quite like the shotgun. I mean, it's basically a drum barrel shotgun now. It reloads considerably faster from what I've noticed and what I remember of previous Halo
Yeah,
games.
because it's not like
Yeah,
a pump
but
action.
it is
maybe
weaker.
its rate
Yeah.
of fire is just faster than I think it is, so I'm not firing it fast enough.
It is faster than the old shotguns for sure, because the other one was like boom, and then you sort of like pull it back, pump load, and then start to fire again.
Yeah.
This one you can fire off a few shots rapidly, but if you're not extremely close, it's like a 3-shot kill or more.
Yeah,
So-
and that's I usually like getting in close with a shotgun and pumping people with one shot.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is not really viable for this. I think the only gun that actually one-shot someone in this game that I've found was the sniper rifle with a headshot, and of course the energy sword.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
and man, being invisible with the energy sword is still as fun as ever.
Oh god, every fucking time I fall for it, every fucking time. Oh look, I can see someone that's invisible. I'm gonna go and like melee them. Oh no, they've turned around. I'm dead. I hate this game. Every time.
But just think, there'll be an entire generation of kids that won't have experienced that you can introduce them to it.
Welcome to the world of teabagging.
Yeah.
Kids. This was introduced in Halo 1.
I actually haven't checked if teabag physics still in the game.
I'm pretty
hope so.
sure they
It's a
still
staple.
are.
Surely.
It wouldn't be right if they weren't.
Yeah, it seems like a staple of the Halo series at this point.
Yeah.
Well, but another thing they've added as well is with like they've added like sliding. So if you're sprinting and you like press the crouch button, you'll slide, and that's I'm pretty. I
The
don't think.
slide is a bit more useful than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it's just like a bit different because I think I'm not sure if it was like Halo 5 or Halo 4 or it might have been mid-reach. Like you'd be sprinting and then you press the crouch button and it automatically like stops you. So I've been trying to do that to get behind cover, but then I keep sliding. I'm like, oh no,
I know that was the case in both Halo 4 and in Reach. I don't know about 5.
yeah,
But yeah,
maybe not
it
then
is.
5.
It is. It's so weird. Like one of the weird things I don't like about this multiplayer experience in Halo is that the way that it was presented was very much like sort of the modern Call of Duty thing of like, hey, you can slide, you can grapple, you can do this, you can do that. But at its core, it's still very much a, hey, this person takes a lot to kill, which makes sense. They're Spartans, but they've added like these semi-mobility things like the slide, like the grapple, that are so niche in this gameplay. I feel like the sliding is very good because you can use it all the time consecutively, consistently, but like the grappling hook and everything, like I really thought that would have a much bigger presence in this game than what it does. Like the fact that you have to randomly find it on the map and hopes that someone else hasn't taken it.
Yeah, the grapple hook
Yeah.
I kind of wish was just part of your toolkit. I
Yeah,
can see why it isn't, because it kind of breaks some maps really badly. But at the same
but
time,
give it like
I don't-
like a minute cooldown or something.
It only
Yeah,
breaks the maps
um,
because everyone doesn't have them. Like it adds like a bit of verticality, which you can use.
yeah, like on a design standpoint as well, if they just gave everyone a grapple hook, they could make more vertical designed maps, which Halo Reach from memory had a few of them, and they weren't all that great because you had to keep relying on the jet boosters to get everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, and you had to keep looking up as well because people, as soon as it would start, would get straight up there and be like, "Okay, I'm on top. There you are. If you don't see
Yeah,
me
exactly.
in the first 2 bursts, you're
Just
done."
dome you, yeah.
But
The
as it is now, since it's a power up, it's very flattened maps with some, like, very few things that you can grapple onto. But it's usually like, hey, let's just grapple onto this cliff to get up faster than running around it.
It also just feels like equipment wise, the grapple is, in my opinion, by far the best, and every other power I've found has just been pretty much mediocre. There's one that you can shoot out which basically does like a circle radar and shows you if there's enemies or anything in it. There's ones that shoots like wrist-mounted rockets like your Boba Fett, which is kind of cool. Probably doesn't do enough damage, but pretty cool. And then there's like a repulse one, which basically sort of just stops you. I'm not entirely sure what it does, but I imagine if a vehicle hits you or something, it'll probably just like flip the vehicle. I haven't managed to time it, right?
The repulsor is supposed to be used for
Grenades.
deflecting things like grenades and
Yeah.
rockets.
Okay, yeah, so it does have a use. And then the other one I found was basically just a drop shield.
The drop shield's good. The drop shield's good if you. All these things are situational, and probably because it's new and we're not used to it yet, and because it's mapped to like the right bumper, which used to be the melee button. It's still that. I'm just not used to it yet.
I have it bound to a button on my mouse, but like you have, at least on PC, you have 4 different equipment buttons that you can use, but you can only pick up one equipment. So
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure what that's about, but yeah, it just feels like everything is so utterly situational, but the grappling hook is really strong because you can use it to escape, to getting close, to do whatever, and it's really consistently good. I feel like it just definitely should be part of a kit, like
Yeah.
standard.
Everything else feels like it's a defensive tool or a situational tool, while the grapple hook is the only thing in the game at the moment that's just like, hey, have fun with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
The other
point.
thing I found while I'm on things I don't like was quite a few bugs. Just I couldn't rebuying keys. I had the game crash on me. I had no sound for some things. I couldn't invite people to matches. Various bits and pieces. Most of that seems to have been fixed up when I loaded my PC today, which is good. And obviously restarting Halo the first time allowed me to rebound my keys. Otherwise, I just wouldn't have played it. But it's definitely still in beta, and I think there's some tweaking that probably could be done. But I also come from a really competitive first person shooter thing like Tarkov or like CS:GO, where either you have 0 recoil and you one shot kill, or it's a very hyper realistic thing and you can lean around corners and it's very slow. You hear people stepping and you gotta account for them and kill them in a map, and if you die, you're dead, kind of thing. So, take it with a grain of salt. This is a very different FPS to what we've had since the last Halo FPS. So it's kind of in its own genre for this. I just think it could be tweaked.
I haven't played Halo 4 and 5, but from what I saw, I wasn't a big fan of it because it did look like they were more towards the 4v4 thing that 343 is pushing for the ranked in this, or 5v5 even. And I prefer, like, okay, so I did say earlier that I was mostly playing like 4-player split screen stuff, but I prefer Halo as this big multiplayer thing where it's big maps, you got all these vehicles everywhere, you're doing capture the flag and things like that. Like, just doing 2v2s in those sort of maps were a lot of fun. I don't like the more enclosed type of maps. I like the big expanses of land. So I'm very happy with this return to form for the big battle mode.
I think the big battle mode is definitely good. I'm just hoping that they do something to address, maybe just buff a few of the starting guns. Maybe it doesn't feel like it's polished enough. Like, the assault rifle still feels like the absolute worst gun in the game, and if you don't pick up another gun, it's basically useless. Like, I saw an article from PC Gamer, and I knew exactly what they were talking about, where they were talking about previous Halo games where they did what was they were dubbing the Halo, which is basically spraying an entire clip of the assault rifle point blank into someone as you're running towards each other, and then you both melee each other and you both fall over and die. And
Man, classic.
It's so classic to Halo, and it's such a problem. Like, it's such a buzzkill for a thing. If you just spawn with this gun and someone else spawns with this gun, and you know you're just both gonna die unless one of you misses the melee. Like, it just doesn't seem fun. I don't think it's a
buzzkill at all. I find that very fun. Like, if I get a double kill like that, I just think, oh well, it's one less person on their team dealing anything to other people.
I think
I've always found it quite funny.
Yeah, but would it still be funny, like, you know, I don't know, 300 matches in when you have a 10-second respawn time when you spawn with that same gun again?
Yeah, the respawn time is like 10 seconds, is way too long. But I sort of see it, and maybe I'm very biased because I love Halo and I sort of love that type of thing, because you can sort of fake out the strategy. Like, they'll go for the melee and like you'll jump 2 seconds before, so they've missed. And it's like, okay, then you come down with the melee like a split second later. It just, like, I see what you're saying about, like, it's not, and it does take that whole who reloads first, or if you miss like one burst, that's it, you're gone. But I actually really enjoy sort of everybody how it starts off on the same playing field, and it's not necessarily, or maybe it's the way that I play, and I haven't really gotten the nuance and the expertise with the newer guns. But I sort of wait for them to go and grab the gun, and as they're picking it up, they're like 2-3 seconds behind me, and that's it. Like, I've already got the upper hand. And
finish your point.
Oh yeah, I mean, but because like the shields are so strong, you've sort of got like, you can sort of be caught a little bit off guard and still survive the fight. Like, just because like someone shoots you 2 times and you weren't ready for it, if you sort of like quickly sprint or quickly slide or quickly jump, you can sort of change the whole situation. It just gives a bit more opportunities.
See, I wouldn't mind that if it didn't mean that, you know, the people that have the stronger guns weren't just 2-tapping you or weren't just 3-tapping you. So if you have this gun and you run into someone with it, you either have to get the drop on them or run away and find another gun, because you're going to die. Like, it is just such a useless piece of equipment, I think, is just my big problem with it.
That's
like,
what I was going to ask.
The moment I spawn, I swap to a pistol.
Yeah. I don't think it's all that useless myself, because I get plenty of kills with the assault rifle. Like, some good runs I get is like killing 3 people with that default gun, like, just while they're either in a group or just trying to scramble themselves, or even if they've got a better gun, and I just pick them off like a little too far away for a shotgun to be very effective.
So when you're in one of these big maps and everyone's scrambling for guns, does it suffer from the I'm going to call it the Battlefront 2 problem, because it's the last game I can think of that had it, where if you don't get one of these guns, or I guess if you don't become, you know, whatever Jedi that becomes available after a certain point, that you're just kind of resigned to having a shit game for the next 10 minutes? Or is it generally enough around that you can kind of make something work?
Guns come back in frequency, and if someone dies with a gun and no one picks it up, then it's just going to go back to the rack. So it's not like it's going to be gone forever or anything. They do come in every now and then. And again, with the power weapon drops and like the other vehicles around everywhere, you're not really lost for options.
Yeah, and I found that the ammo on the drop guns is like, it's not low, but it's low enough so you don't feel
Low.
like as if you can just swamp the team. Like I think with the rocket launcher you get like one reload, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I think you
Yeah.
get two shots and then 2 shots in the chamber.
Yeah,
So
which I think it's like it's not like as if someone's just going to run around. Like I think the energy sword lasts 6 swings or 6 hits. And
it
it's
used to last 10, so
10?
it might
Oh,
be
shit.
10 still.
Yeah, I feel like
'cause
a
it used
lot
to
of these
charge
changes were
10%.
made to compensate for the 4v4 mode. But
Yeah.
even then, you get things like the rocket launcher only has 2 shots in the 4v4 mode. So, like, it's already low for that. Why does it still feel very low for the big map? Like, at least let people have some fun and maybe put in put in two rockets at default and 6 in the chamber that you can use.
I mean, I don't think they necessarily need to increase those guns because they are like they're supposed to be a limited resource, but the starting gun and the starting pistol, they have such a small amount of ammo, which I constantly run out of ammo with those, and I
Really?
haven't had the time, or I haven't found another gun that hasn't spawned. And like you get 3 clips I think for the pistol, and it takes like at least 1.5 clips to kill someone.
Well, are you like
So-
are you like walking over bodies as you kill them to collect all their ammo? Because I do that out of habit, just from like playing
more
single player
often than not,
campaigns.
I spawn right beside someone that is fighting me.
I've never really had an ammo problem myself
Yeah.
unless it's a gun I've picked up, which you can't get more ammo of because of like other people aren't dying and dropping that.
I mean, I did a match earlier today where I noticed the problem was just infuriating because I ended up, I think it was like 21 to like 10 or something. It was actually like, I actually did quite well this match. And I was just out of ammo. And every single time I killed someone, I had to walk up to them and take whatever gun they had because I was out of ammo. It was just really annoying. And yeah, it kind of just, it didn't sell me on like what the Halo Infinite experience looked like to me with the fast-paced slides and the grappling hooks and everything. All of that really consists to fast-paced, don't stop moving, keep shooting while you're running around at people. And if you have a very limited ammo resource and the grappling hooks are very limited and you have to like find them, and the slide is probably not as fast-paced and as sort of dashy as what it looked like in the game trailers to me, it just feels like they did kind of half a job. Like they were trying to make it a modern shooter with, wall bounces and all these other bits and pieces, but then they just kind of left it. I don't know. I just think it needs tweaking. I just don't know where.
Yeah, I think I can see where you're coming from, and especially probably in the big maps, that's probably more apparent because in the big maps they have like a more diverse portfolio of weapons that spawn.
Yeah, I mean, the one where I noticed it very specifically was a capture the flag match where I was out of ammo, but I had to chase that flag. Like if I didn't stop the flag, it was gone. So I just kind of was trying to scrounge whatever ammo I could find on the way, and running back and forth between my flag and their flag, or trying to capture it and fighting people on that point, and being constantly out of ammo there was just not really conductive to a fun experience. But yeah, I don't know. That's enough about what I dislike about Halo, I think. But it is a very fun game. I think the spawns probably need to be tweaked a little bit better as well. But 343's always had that problem, and just I guess just getting used to the game, because I imagine you guys have the same problem. You pick up a gun and go, "Hey, I haven't played the campaign for this Halo game. I have no idea what this does."
There is a weapon range to go in and learn these guns, but I'm taking the approach of I'll just pick up a gun and learn how it goes in experience.
Literally me picking up like the lightning rifle.
Shall we just segue and talk about that for a sec? So, obviously, this is just the multiplayer. Campaign isn't out yet, but from what you've played, because I assume the engine and stuff would be the same, the physics would be the same. Does it get you more or less excited for the campaign now that you've played the multiplayer in the same kind of world?
I'm more excited, definitely, 100%. I've said it before, I'll say it a million times. I love like the Halo lore. I love the story. I love the sort of world and the environment setting, like to the point where I've got like a lot of the books that like sort of explain the backstory. I'm like sort of really into the Halo lore, so I am very, very, very keen for the campaign, and I cannot wait.
What about you, Seth? Josh, you're about to speak. Sorry. What about you?
I mean, I've literally now in the last few weeks, basically gone through it and played every single Halo games campaign on Legendary. So I got the Legendary cutscene and everything, and got really deep into the story and really involved in it. And I love Halo. I think it's great. It's one of the first games I ever played, and it will probably be one of the last, knowing Microsoft. I don't think they're going to stop throwing money at it.
I thought that was going to be a really dark, like.
Yeah, I got scared.
You were in the hospice at the ripe old age of 27, playing Halo.
No, not at all. But I absolutely love the game. But to me, the multiplayer in this, I don't think it really got me more excited. But I was also quite excited. I think if I didn't care less about the game, and if I hadn't just replayed every Legendary Edition, I would have been like, yeah, okay, I'm pretty hyped for this now. Show me what the campaign's going to be about. But coming from the story side of things, and then going into a map where they just throw you as a random Spartan with a random AI with just random guns, it was like, yeah, I can see how the campaign could be cool, but I just don't want it to go Halo 5 route. I want them to go really deep story wise. I want it to be a long campaign, and I want the co-op to release with the campaign, but it probably won't. But I'm not excited, but I think that they really need to hype up what the campaign's going to be a bit more prior to release. There's only a couple of weeks away. Give us some information on what the campaign's going to be. Release like another campaign trailer with a bit more info is really what I would want.
And what about you, Seth? Any thoughts?
I'm excited to give Halo single player a try at some point. I do have the Master Chief Collection. It's just a thing of actually sitting down and playing through all the single players. I've got to find a way to play Halo 5 once I get to them. So Halo Infinite's story mode is something that's going to be long down the line for me. And yeah, I'm excited to play them, but I'm going to be more excited because by the time I do get to it, co-op should be in the game, hopefully. And I don't think I'd play those by myself. Like the single players and the multiplayers are very different beasts, so I don't think it's too big of a talking point to say how the multiplayer would excite me for the single player. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with this. Sorry, but yeah, I am generally excited to give that a try.
That's cool. And
you got people here that will play it with you.
Yeah. Speaking of things that excite you guys, shall we wrap the Infinite discussion with a talk on battle passes? I think,
man, the best.
God, I hate it.
I think it might have been you, Seth, that alluded to this was their monetization strategy. I noticed that in Steam when I downloaded it says Season 1, which, man, if that's not the bread and butter of a battle pass system, I don't know what is. But shall we briefly discuss about what the monetization in this looks like?
Yeah, so I think it's $15 for 1,000 credits, which is what the season pass is going for, and you could pay 2,800 credits to get some bonus EXP through there, so you don't have to spend as much time grinding. Spend more money, avoid the grind. So that's
I feel like we were talking about that last week.
Yeah,
it's almost like that's what most games are nowadays. Yeah, sorry, you continue.
Spend a chunky $45 to get through a good chunk of the season pass. The battle pass right now sounds very enticing, doesn't it?
And so let's say I do go and do that. What would I be saving myself the grind to get? What would the incentive be to get up the battle pass as fast as possible? What sort of things do I have to look forward to?
So I don't know for sure, but I'm going to take a wild stab and say you'll skip 50 levels of battle pass, and it's got 100 levels. And by the time you hit 50, you'll just have a bunch of cosmetics you could customize your Spartan with.
Yeah. So just to sort of throw it back to the Halo 3 stuff, it's very much like that, where your Spartan has different pieces of armor, so you can change your helmet, you can change your arm, you can change your chest plate, you can change your legs, you can change the color for all of those poses, other bits and pieces like that. So if anyone's ever played Halo 3 or any other of the multiplayers since then, very much in the same vein.
Yeah, so they've made a bunch of changes to how customization works in this. Well, not a bunch of changes, still a lot, like the head pieces, the accessories on the head, the chest pieces and everything. The one that I do take issue with is that you can't change your color now. It's all color palettes.
Yeah, I hate that as well. Yeah, and you unlock the color palettes as well. Like you start off with like 8 colors or whatever, and you get like one that's like free in the store at the moment.
Yeah, so the one that's free in the store at the moment is red, blue, and white. So
That's
and the
what I'm
palette is
rocking.
like, yep, and it's like it's set to be white is your main body, red is some accents, and blue is like your gloves and boots and stuff. I think it is at the
Oh,
moment.
so right, so you're not actually able to change the color of pieces. You just wear like a particular style now.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the moment they've got things like, hey, this armor set is like all black with like red tinges and stuff. But in older Halos, it was more like you could pick it for blue team. You could pick between different shades of blues and purples, and for red team, you could pick between different shades of red and orange.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I generally preferred that version of it. But yeah, so they even threw monetization onto the color palette of your Spartan.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember, but back when Halo Infinite was first scheduled to release, and I'll never forget this because it's so ridiculous, but basically they had a deal in the US with, I think it's Kellogg's and stuff, the people that make like those LCM bars and rice bubble bars and other bits and pieces
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
Kellogg's.
Kellogg's, yeah.
Yeah.
So when it was originally supposed to release, they had signed this deal with Kellogg's, which basically, if you had one of those bars or you bought the box or whatever, you could go online and scan like a QR code or redeem just a regular like product code, and it would unlock a color palette for you. And you had to like, it was a unique one to this very particular product. And I think Mountain Dew is very similar.
I think they also had one for Monster.
Yeah,
I think they
it
had one
was
for
all
Monster
those,
as well. Maybe it wasn't Mountain Dew, maybe it was Monster, but it was like unique to that. And when this originally came out, when Halo was like, Halo Infinite was supposed to release, there were so many people like up in arms about it, like, oh, but the color palettes is gonna ruin and all these cosmetics, like, what is this game gonna look like? And now it's like released into beta, and everyone's like, hey, the game hasn't even released yet, and they're charging for them, but I don't care because it's Halo. I find it really strange that they're just gonna, if this is what free to play looks like, then man, I'd rather just pay for the game and have the customization options.
Yeah, so I was going to get into that. I actually went through and counted everything that was on the season pass.
Of course you did.
Yeah, just so I knew what was going on. You'll have to give me a second to double check my numbers, but I believe
Got
it
your abacus
was
going, just sliding the beads back and forth, trying to figure out the final score. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So I believe the final number was you get like 14 to 18 on freemium, and that's getting up to level 100. And if you pay, it's 68 pieces of cosmetic items, including color. I think that was just armors as well, not including colors or anything, because a lot of the colors and everything is actually still locked behind being paid. Most of the stuff you get for free on the Battle Pass is mission swaps for your weekly challenges, which give you XP towards the Battle Pass, or XP boosters to get more experience for the Battle Pass. So for free, you're just making progress so that when you eventually do pay for it, you unlock a lot of stuff right away.
So it sounds like this is one of those standard operation types of everyone's on the same battle pass, but unless you pay money, you get like half the rewards type deal, or are there two separate battle passes?
No, it's all the same Battle Pass. It's
right.
just like, it feels like for free you're getting 1/5 of the stuff that's on the Battle Pass.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
It's no Deep Rock Galactic Battle Pass.
And the stuff that you are getting is to make the grinds less of a hassle.
But at the same time, it's all cosmetic, and it's a first-person game. You never actually see your character anyway.
I mean, you see
know,
it in
but
the intro and the outro.
Yeah, I guess
you see
so.
them in the intro and the outro, and I do like having a unique Spartan. I've always enjoyed the cosmetic side of Halo multiplayer as well. So yeah, it's kind of a bummer that all that stuff that I do enjoy is being locked behind paying money every couple of months.
Cool. So with that, obviously this has been a discussion on what we've played so far for Halo Infinite. But again, as we've said a few times, but worth repeating again, this is still the beta. Some closing thoughts from you guys. What are we thinking between now and I guess when we get the full release in what 3 weeks away? We hoping for like tweaks, as Josh said, or are we kind of happy mostly with where it is at the moment? Just get some thoughts.
I'm happy with it.
Mostly.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, I'm.
Sorry, go ahead, Seth.
Monetization schemes aside, I'm fairly happy with where it is. Some things could use tweaking in terms of like how certain weapons perform. But generally, I've had a pretty smooth time playing the game, and it's been a lot of fun.
Cool. And Josh hates it, so we will. I'm kidding. No. Do you have any closing thoughts, Josh?
I mean, I'm mostly just excited to play the campaign. That's my big love for it. You know, I want to see John Halo on the big screen.
It is
but,
nice that you were playing it again before the pre-show, because sitting in Discord with you yesterday, I distinctly remember you saying, "That's it, I'm done with Halo Infinite, and I'm not playing the multiplayer again until the campaign comes out." So, good that you reversed that decision.
I mean, yeah, that was at the time where I had so many bugs and everything that I was just losing my mind over it. It was just straw on the camel's back, but most of them seem to be resolved today. I don't know if there was server-side updates or anything, or if it was my PC, but they seem to be working. I've only played the better part of 10 games, but it is quite fun. I think if you enjoy the Halo games from 1 to 3, you'll really like it. Halo Reach probably is still kind of unique in its gameplay. But yeah, no, it's very good. Like probably a solid 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I come from a free and reach background, and I very much enjoy the game. So, that's 2 thumbs up from me, 8 out of 10.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Steve,
I'd
you want to
probably
go
say
9
the
out of
same.
10?
Yeah, right. 9 out of 10 of the campaign. I'm loving it.
Wow, damn, 9 out of 10.
It's still in the beta. The beta is fun. I've had very little netcode issues or lag or anything, so it's can't wait. I'm very keen. Will I get into the competitive esports scene? No.
Will any of us?
No.
But at the same time,
we'll just see
alright.
who becomes the new couch king.
but at the same time, if you do get any more bugs, Josh, you can just get some more teen out, and that'll be right.
All right.
I just gotta correct Patrick. We're not a couch, we're a lounge.
True,
Ooh.
excellent. Oh, my mistake. I'm so sorry for everyone listening. I'm gonna have to go and self-flagellate over that one. But self-flagellation aside, that does bring us to the end of the game section for this week. Upcoming will be some news. We've got fewer big pieces to talk about, just lots of little bits, I think. Why don't we start with you, Josh? Apparently the Voice of Cards OST is available now.
Yeah, so the OST that I was just simping last week is available digitally. You can get it. I'm not actually sure exactly where you can get it, but knowing Square Enix, it'll be over the website. I doubt it's going to be on Spotify or anything like that. But it's available. It's an excellent soundtrack. If you do any kind of board games, highly recommend playing that in the backgrounds.
Yeah, it's just a website you go to and you can hit download, and it gives you 14 tracks.
Even better. Like, they are excellent. I've been using YouTube for them, just for various other bits and pieces while I've been working and stuff. Highly recommend. The other sort of quick news item that was on my bucket list is League of Legends. They've released 2 new games. One of them's called Ruin King. It's an RPG that goes through a League of Legends story based around a few characters. The second one is Rhythm. It's called Hextech Mayhem, and basically it's just a rhythm game where you go up, right, left, right. So, up, down, left, right kind of thing. And yeah, they've announced 2 more games called Convergence and Song of Nunu, which I imagine probably is an RPG and another rhythm game, but they haven't really said too much details about it. And 2 available right now, 2 available 2022.
Does that tie in with the new Netflix show that just came out, or is it just League of Legends just doing a big push to get all content out there?
I think Riot has said in the past that they want to become like a Blizzard where they have things touching everything. They want to become like their own sort of, I don't really know how to say it, other than like
almost.
A media franchise. Yeah, I mean, they want to have their songs with the idol songs. They want to have their video, obviously video games, but they want to have their video platforms as well. So through the anime, through Netflix. And obviously now they're just trying to break into just other genres of games, so they're not just known as a Dota clone or, you know, a MOBA. They're Riot and they're League of Legends. Probably also trying to detract from a few other bad media bits of attention they've been getting recently, but we don't really need to go into that.
Yeah, if they want to follow in Blizzard's footsteps, that's a good way to start.
Ooh.
But I've also been hearing that the RPG is pretty fun. I haven't looked into it myself, but I've heard some pretty good takeaways that it's a pretty decent game.
It looks quite good. It really continues the League of Legends like art style. So does all of the games. It's really there, like that sort of, I don't really know how to describe it, but very much like that Road 96 game actually, where it's very much that you look at it and go, that's an indie art style, where it's sort of flat, very colorful, I guess is the way I'd describe it. But yeah, I haven't played either of them, so that's pretty much just it for the news for those.
I love the idea that the small indie dev studio of Riot Games producing the League of Legends games. Anyway, we shall move on. Seth, you want to tell us about Dragon Ball?
Yeah, so Dragon Ball: The Breakers is a game coming out in 2022.
I thought it was called Dragon Ball Breakers.
Yeah, no, it's called Dragon Ball: The
Because they're not breaking any
Breakers.
Dragon Balls.
so-
Sorry, I have to keep saying this.
Breaking my Dragon Ball, Steve. Shut
so-
up. That's sad to me.
He's breaking my balls because he keeps
I know,
interrupting
right?
me.
Insert Peter Griffin
I'm just
describes
breaking
my
your Dragon
games.
Balls.
But yeah, if anyone that's familiar with Dragon Ball, there's a couple of episodes where Cell and Piccolo fight in this city that Cell's just gone through and eaten everyone in, like just gone and absorbed everyone to power himself up. So copying some Dead by Daylight, Dragon Ball is taking those couple of episodes and turning them into a game where you control Cell, and they've also announced Frieza and Majin Buu will be in there as well. And you're just this lone character hunting down 7 other players in an asynchronous map. And the goal for the 7 survivors seems to be that they need to find a time machine and jump out of the map. And if any one of them survives, then they win as a collective group, while the villain has to try and hunt them all down and get stronger in the process.
I'm not sure that that's exactly how it's going to work, because Dead by Daylight, basically, depending on your points that you get while you're stopping the survivors from extracting and how many you take out, stuff like that, you can win as the villain even if people escape based on the point system. At least that's my understanding of it from when I was watching someone play it. So it might be very similar to that, but
It could be. I just know that the survivor's goal is to get into that time machine and hop out.
yeah.
And there's they've got some abilities where you can inherit the abilities of Dragon Ball fighters to try and help the other survivors escape. So you can't just go like, let me take him on sort of thing and protect you.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, interesting premise. And the Steam beta is going to be coming worldwide soon. So we could probably get our hands on it within
Yeah.
the year.
No date yet, though.
Yeah, no date. Just announced for 2022.
A Christmas present, perhaps, but something that will no longer be in 2022, Pragmata.
Yeah, Pragmata got delayed to 2023. This is a game that we don't really know a whole lot about. Capcom showed a trailer when the PS5 was announced. This is like their big next-gen push sort of game. Just out of the blue, they've said, "Hey, sorry, we're delaying it a year, but here's some really gorgeous key art to go along with the delay, just to give something."
We'll have to keep tabs on that one. Steve, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. You can speak now. You want to tell us about Saints Row being delayed?
Yeah, so unfortunately, when Saints Row was announced at this E3, I believe, and everybody sort of had mixed feelings about it because the Saints Row franchise is pretty rock solid, and it was supposed to be a weird, wacky GTA sort of clone, and I really played it and I enjoyed it, so I'm really looking forward to the reboot. But it's been delayed, which is what we want. We don't want games to be rushed out. We don't want games to come out like Cyberpunk 2077, even though that was delayed a fair bit. So it's good it was delayed. I'm looking forward to it. Even whenever it releases, in whatever form it's released in, hopefully they just do as much as they can with it and they take their time. No point rushing, no point burning people out at both ends.
Yeah, this was another thing where they've just shown like a reveal trailer and then gone, "Hey, we need to delay it," but with current world issues, game delays is to be expected, and just giving that extra time in the oven is always always
I
good.
can't
Yeah.
think of any game that has retained its original release strategy and turned out well. I think every time they've said that they need to push the game back, it's generally been for the game's benefit.
Yeah, and we're definitely seeing the latter half of COVID's impacts. Like if you can't get people, especially creative people, in a room to sort of hash out these type of things, we might sort of be seeing a lot more delays in this type of thing. Like we might just get to a bunch of news one week where it's just like, yeah, everything's been delayed, which would be great to catch up on your backlog, but then things take as long as they take. There's no point rushing.
I actually feel like we've gone through the worst of it when it comes to game releases, because of COVID, because February and March looks pretty stacked next year.
Obviously, developing games is a multi-year process, though, so the effects that we saw a year and a half, 2 years ago could be playing into this as well. So hopefully we're through the thick of it, though.
Indeed. In terms of things that are in the thick of it at the moment, though, I want to briefly touch on Streamlabs for what they say is accidentally releasing production text onto the website, but for whatever reason looks an awful lot like Lightstreams, one of their competitors on there. I think a good chunk of the internet is discussing that at the moment, but it's pretty shocking at not only how close the Streamlabs website looks to Lightstreams, but also that OBS has come out and said that they've tried repeatedly to get Streamlabs to take OBS out of their name, but only now, amidst all this other controversy, are they actually deciding to do that. Which, I don't know, I feel like they've dug a bit of their own grave and now they get to lie in it.
Yeah, I feel like when OBS came out, and said this, everyone just had a collective outroar of, wait, you mean you aren't the same company?
Yeah, exactly. And I think what's also been interesting is that people have started digging up how Streamlabs has been working even before now, and there was some interesting stuff thrown around. There have been a few former employees that have come forward that said that they were told to basically do unethical business practices, and that the people that didn't want to do the unethical business practices just kind of left the company. I've seen some statements about most of their marketing department being fired as of late 2018, so it just seems like an all-around shitty situation.
Yeah, the news has already made the rounds and everyone is uninstalling Streamlabs, mass exodus everywhere, that there is no saving face right now. They've put out a statement, and their statement is basically a non-apology going, OBS is open software, and we're also open software. We should have been more transparent, but oh well.
Yeah, basically they're saying, hey, we didn't break any laws in this open source software situation or by copying the Lightstream website. Or even the reviews that are pasted like word for word on some of these sites.
I love that they also just say, oh, sorry, like test code accidentally made it into production. No, it didn't. there's no way that
they
you
change names and everything.
Yeah, there's no way that you make it look that close and accidentally just leave it to upload. Like, oh man.
For multiple years.
Yeah, no, like there's like incompetency and stupidity, and this is definitely a mixture of both. But it'll be interesting to see what happens out of that. This is basically the end of the small news section. For the big news, we originally had it in small news, but Seth wanted to make a big statement about it. Guilty Gear getting some DLC. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so at the end of this month, Happy Chaos is coming to Guilty Gear Strive. This, unfortunately, pushes Elfeltz away. She'll probably not be in until season 2. My heart goes out to the dear friend of the podcast, Jake, over this, because he wants his waifu. Yeah, so Happy Chaos was the main villain of the story mode for Guilty Gear Strive, so he's just being put into the game now, and he looks pretty fun. He's a gunslinger type character, which I've always enjoyed in these games. And there's a couple of animation flourishes for him that are really good. Like if he loses by timeout, he'll aim the gun up at the timer on the UI and
That's
shoot
pretty
it.
cool,
Yeah, it puts
actually.
like a crack mark on the screen. Very cool.
Do you feel guilty that
he's
that you're playing it?
This close, Steve. This
So in
close.
other news, the King of Fighters 15 beta is out. Well, not out. By the time you listen to this podcast, the beta will be over. But at the time of recording, you can download it.
Maybe that might grind people's gears if they won't be able to get to it in time.
Oh my gosh. So
yeah, that'll probably be my main topic of talking next week, which will be trying out the King of Fighters 15 beta. It's available to download on PS4 and PS5, but again, by the time this comes out, the beta will probably already be over. Also, something that's going to be over by the time this podcast comes out, Call of Duty Vanguard's multiplayer is going to be free this weekend. I suspect it's because Halo Infinite just came out and is eating this lunch.
Do any of us, I'm never really a COD fan, any of us plan on playing Vanguard?
Nope.
No.
It's not Halo or Battlefield, so probably not.
Yeah, I guess Vanguard. If you enjoy, learning to count with your fingers and toes, you might enjoy the Vanguard beta. That, as we said, will be available next week. None of us will be playing it, but hey, you have fun.
Yeah. On the topic of Call of Duty Vanguard though, like my girlfriend is a big Call of Duty fan, and even she's like, yeah, no, I'm not bothering with Vanguard this year. I saw it and it doesn't look impressive.
Well, that's it, right? Like, I don't mind Call of Duty games, but this one just looks bland. It doesn't look like it has anything that looks fun at all. And I mean, the main draw of Call of Duty, like the Halo games, was I liked playing the campaign and then going into multiplayer. So there's just no draw anymore. I don't think they need to do something fresh.
Yeah, something I've heard is that like a big reason recent Call of Duty games have been selling well is because people that are sucked into the battle royale modes, they need to buy the new game to level up their weapons at a reasonable rate.
That's
Interesting.
horrendous.
That
That just sounds like a straight up scam. Oh no. Well, leaving that where it is, things that definitely could be scams. People trying to figure out where Tobey Maguire is from the latest Spider-Man trailer.
Yeah, evidence seems to point towards he's been scrubbed out of the trailer just to annoy people that want Tobey Maguire, because the whole internet has been asking where's Toby whenever he's not on screen.
Do you reckon it's going to be emo Toby from
Spider-Man 3.
Spider-Man 3?
No, I think they're going to aim him more towards how Peter Parker was at the beginning of Spider-Verse, the one that dies at the beginning of Spider-Verse. How he's
the old fella.
he's a bit
Yeah.
like he's been through the Raimi movies, but he's pretty confident and still upbeat.
I wouldn't mind Bully Maguire being like a cameo alongside regular Maguire though.
It's just that music scene where he's dancing.
Yeah,
They're bringing
Exactly.
in from like
Exactly.
timelines, right? So maybe there'll just be two of him, and one will just like dance aggressively at the other one, just like Fortnite and Naruto.
I'm gonna put dirt in your eye. Do we want Andrew
Gonna
Garfield
cry?
in there as well?
Sandman is there, so dirt is very reasonable to do.
Gonna cry?
Are people as interested in seeing Andrew Garfield in there?
Who?
I'm interested to see it because I didn't like the Amazing Spider-Man films, but Andrew Garfield, like as a person, seemed very excited to be playing Spider-Man, and he was just given shit to work
Yeah,
with.
it was a 20. He looked like he was 25 playing a 15-year-old. Like he was always too big. I did like Jamie Foxx's Electro.
I was about to touch
Fantastic.
on that one
Yeah.
though. Yeah, Jamie Foxx's Electro was definitely a highlight of those films.
Yeah, that was a
It's no Willem Dafoe though.
Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin is peak.
So good.
Something
Well,
of a
it's a good
scientist
first part of
myself.
Spider-Man.
It's so good.
How many of the memes are going to be in it?
Oh, that's what I mean. We're gonna see the Spider-Man pointing at each other meme, but like updated.
Oh, I've already
Oh,
seen one of that
no.
where it's just pointing at the two scrubbed out Spider-Men. Oh, so good.
Oh, the internet cannot wait to sink their teeth into that. Oh man.
Things we can't wait to sink our teeth into though. Sonic collab for Monster Hunter.
Oh yes, tell us about that, Josh.
I mean, we've already spoken about it, I think, in our pilot test episode, but obviously that wouldn't have gone live. But yeah, they're releasing a Sonic collab for Monster Hunter. They finally released a trailer. Your dog becomes Tails, which is awesome. It looks so good. And we finally get to answer the question of which way does dog wear pants. And then you also get hey, look, I had to take the chance. Sonic will become your cat, which is kind of cool. I think,
Just as I predicted.
yeah, I mean, I still stand by my statement of the pilot episode where basically, hey, I really want to fight a giant Sonic and just like kill it for parts, but this is good too. I think also you, by the looks of it at least, from memory, you also unlock like Sonic-looking gear for your hunter,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah, it's layered armor that's like a Sonic themed jacket and tracksuit pants.
it looks to me like Pepsi Man equivalent of Sonic though.
Yeah, I sort of get what
It's
you mean.
super strange.
Plus, I feel like
Yeah.
that Sonic aesthetic is going to look really weird when it's like combined with something like a great sword or just some large. Well, I mean, Sonic with a gun even. I think is going to be.
I mean, they showed it with dual blades, which makes sense because he's like running like with his arms back like Naruto, running like what
Exactly.
Sonic does and stuff, right?
But
But yeah, with a great sword though.
yeah, either big sword or just large gun. Cannot wait.
Sonic just whipping out a gigantic hammer or just like playing the bagpipes. If it doesn't play the Green Hills like theme song when you play like his very particular bagpipe things, that would just be fucking incredible if it did. But if it doesn't, I'll be so disappointed.
Every time you get hit, it makes that sound.
Some
It's so good.
some little flourishes they've done for the Palico though that I really love is that it can roll into a ball as it's running forward, and it turns supersonic.
Do we think that the spirit bug? Oh, it's not spirit bugs. The little power ups. Shoot, it's been a while since I've played
Wire
Rise.
bugs?
The cow.
Yeah, no, you're talking about
Just the little.
Oh my god, I think they were called spirit bugs.
I feel like the spirit bugs are the big ones. Anyway, the little ones that you run around and collect. They're the ones that power up your health, stamina, and attack.
Yeah, the permanent upgrades.
Yeah,
Well, permanent for that.
Yeah, because it looked like they could almost be turned into gold rings based on that trailer.
That would be so cool if you ran around collecting the little gold rings with power ups around the map. That would be excellent. I just hope it's not tied to a certain layered armor.
Yeah,
because,
exactly.
You know, as much as the gold rings would be awesome, I really don't want to run around as an overly lanky Sonic with a bow.
Did we have any idea when this collab was going to happen? When we could actually see this in Rise? Because I don't remember seeing a date attached.
Yeah. So it will be November 26th for the Switch, and then it will be available day one when it releases on Steam, which I think was the 23rd of January, I think, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since that came out, but
Yeah, it's fairly early in the year.
yeah, I know the beta is like the 13th, I think, of January, and then just after that is the actual full release, like 2 weeks later. So either way, it'll release day one on Steam, so look forward to that.
Cool. Things that we don't look forward to. Activision Blizzard, still in the news, still going, but this time with a new slant on being a shit place to work.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll cover this as well because I'm the one that sort of threw it in this the document we used. But Activision Blizzard once again kind of ruining everything they're trying to repair. It's come out that the boss for Vicarious Visions, Jen O'Neill, who was like promoted at some point, she was working in this role for 3 months. After the 3 months, she then resigns, and she left this big happy statement saying like, oh, you know, I'm resigning because I'm hopeful for the future and everything they can accomplish. Just for them to for her to turn around later and say, actually, the reason I left was that I wasn't given like real opportunities. I wasn't being paid the same as my male counterpart who was heading up something within Blizzard while she was heading up Vicarious Visions. So, like, for this to come out at the same time as the Bobby K, I don't remember how to pronounce his last name thing, where
Kotick.
What is it? Sorry.
Kotick.
I wasn't sure if that was how you pronounce it, but
Kotick or Kotick, one of those two.
Yeah, one of those two. Basically, like he's been, people from Blizzard are walking out en masse. I think 150 just said, "Hey, you know, fire him because of all these allegations that he knew about this stuff for years and that he threatened to kill an assistant." Like, for them that to come out at the same sort of time really just kind of puts the nail in the coffin. There's I don't remember exactly what they call themselves, but there's like basically a league of shareholders as well, which are also saying, hey, either fire Bobby or stop him being paid for his volunteer thing he took for another 5 years on top of this. So I think...
Yeah, apparently it was just something like 6% of the shareholders, though.
Yeah, it's only 6% or something. Actually, I think it was 0.6. It was very low, but it made it... Like, it's enough of a statement that it's going to draw bad press. And, you know, there's them saying that, and then there's also how people will vote in these shareholder meetings. So I think it's just not looking good for old Bobby.
Actually, no. Just on that point, I have to make a pun. Do you think there's like global warming? It'll cut the blizzards out. Okay, we can move on now.
No.
Thanks for listening.
Oh no, I think we have to leave that in post. All right. Well, Xbox 20th anniversary stream. What do we all think? Who wants to cover this one?
Underwhelming.
It was 30 minutes of Microsoft sucking their own dick.
I'm shook.
Yeah, but what did you expect though? That's that's what it said on the tin. 20th anniversary special. What did you think was going to happen?
I think I definitely was hoping for more of an Xbox Direct where they announced like a bunch of games that was sort of like, oh, it's coming soon, but they didn't.
So the biggest takeaway I had from this is when they showed their documentary, they specifically showed a clip of someone going, "If we don't have any games, we're dooms," and then they proceeded to show no games for the next 30 minutes.
I mean, so let's talk about what was showed first. Okay, so just run through a few dot points and then we'll talk about the points. Obviously, Halo Infinite multiplayer was dropped 3 weeks early. It's in beta. We've all been playing it except for Patrick. They announced a documentary called Power On, the story of Xbox, which is 6 episodes, pretty much releasing everywhere except for Netflix. That's coming December 13th,
Nice.
so a bit under a month.
Yeah, that documentary is going to be about the story of Xbox starting up as a brand.
Yeah, exactly. Basically talking about like the small team within Microsoft wanting to do games and talking about where it can go. They also announced 70, it was a bit over 70 new backwards compatible titles that are available now for the Series X and all the other Xboxes. So there was at least 20 original Xbox games in there, and then the rest sort of vary between sort of 360 and, I guess they're just 360 actually.
Yeah, that's actually very good and exciting news because, man, their backwards compatibility initiative has been one of the highlights of their last few years to me.
Absolutely.
And sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second.
No, that's all good. Let's before we sort of dig into that, because that is a big point, I want to talk about how they've also announced FPS boost for 37 new titles total, 11 of which were announced that day. 26 were already just previously added backwards compatibility titles.
That on that list is Sonic Unleashed, baby.
Sonic
60
Unleashed.
FPS finally.
Yeah, and Sonic Evolutions. And I ended up buying Sonic Unleashed to play it today, and the FPS boost works great. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I believe it's 4K 60 on Series X.
It is an auto HDR as
Yeah,
well.
the chef's kiss of Sonic
and that's
games.
the case.
Sonic Unleashed is actually art. I love that game. It's half a terrible game because it's bad God of War, but the other half of it is perfect art. It's such a good game, and it's the last time Sonic Team was ever ambitious making Sonic.
I don't know.
I'll probably talk about that one a lot more next week. So let's sort of get through the news, and we'll go back to Sonic next week because you'll probably play it as well at some point, Seth. But yeah, I mean, going back to the 20th anniversary stream in general, obviously the big part of that news was the Halo Infinite multiplayer being dropped, as well as the 70 new backwards compatible titles. And then I guess the documentary is more of a side point, but that is kind of cool. I mean, Stephen was saying, like, I wish they announced more games, which I kind of agree. Like, there was no news about Fable or anything else. Not really any news, I don't think, at all about the campaign for Halo. Really just kind of like, hey, here's everything we've done. Here's 20 years of history, and here they are in game form. We're releasing them on backwards compatibility today. So
yeah, it would have been nice if, like, in the last 5 minutes or so, they go, and here's what to look forward to the future of Xbox sort of segment where they show, like, at least a sizzle reel of their upcoming games that they're making. Like, show a little bit more of Fable or Forza or something.
I mean, yeah, I agree to an extent, but they were really taking a retrospective view at it, and
they were. Yes.
It wasn't a particularly long stream either. I think it was like half an hour. So
yeah, it was 30 minutes.
Yeah,
like I said, 30 minutes of Microsoft sucking their own dick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What was your thoughts, Steve?
I enjoyed it. It wasn't what I wanted, but it was something that was like, I'm sort of glad that it happened type of thing. Like, I'm disappointed they didn't announce anything, but then at the same time, looking back, why would they have announced anything? Like, they're doing that documentary on the whole history of Xbox, which should be good. I'm looking forward to that. They dropped the Infinite multiplayer early. That's pretty good, pretty hype. And they've announced all the last amount of backwards compatible games. And we should probably say that those are the last ones that they said they're going to bring up, which is a shame because there's a bunch of...
That's the thing I wanted to bring up and lost my train of thought over. This is the last time they're adding anything.
They did come out, though, and say that, like, this is the last that they're bringing due to licensing conflicts or for just, that game is just broken and won't run. They can't get it to run stable enough to justify adding auto HDR, 4K, all this other bits and pieces, right?
But it'd be interesting to see how much of those conversations actually go on, that it's like, oh, don't do your backwards compatibility magic. We're planning something for this game. aka like a Dead Space reboot, or the Mass Effect like the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, or even the Grand Theft Auto trilogy. It'd sort of be interesting to see what's going on, and I wonder how much of that influence does make on those decisions. But then at the same time, realistically, we're never going to know those conversations until 20 years in the future, and when the Xbox 40th year, and they're doing another documentary, and then we get to watch this and have the same conversation again when we're on episode 5 million.
I mean, interestingly enough, Mass Effect 3 was in that list somewhere. I don't think it was one of the backwards compatibility announced titles, but it was either one of the FPS boost ones, or one of what was the other feature? FPS boost and something else. It was on the list somewhere for that, and I just remember looking at that and going, "Oh, I'm kind of surprised they're not pushing people towards Legendary Edition." And then there was games for that just got announced, sort of the first time playable on Xbox as well, which were, I think that the full Max Payne series is now available and the full Fear series. So it's cool that they're really trying to think about things and bring it as a whole as well, rather than just ad hoc games. Like, it seems like they made an educated choice to go, okay, well, if we can't get one game out of a series because of like music licensing in the game or something, then hey, we'll just release, we won't release any of that game, or we'll work on something better. We'll bring a whole series towards the Xbox. So I'm pretty happy with how they've done it.
It is pretty good.
Yeah, I don't really have any complaints about the backwards compatibility thing, because again, it's like, what can they do? It's licensing and things like that. There's no real way to do anything unless it's just throw piles of money at the problem, which Microsoft could do if they wanted to, but I'm also not going to begrudge them for not doing it.
Yeah, and at this point, now that they've added another 70, there are hundreds of titles that are available that people would have never got to play if they went the route of like Sony. So I'm really happy.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
They did this.
I was about to touch on that, in like, they're doing way more for backwards compatibility than Sony currently
Yeah,
is.
it also
Nintendo,
seems that
thank you.
it also seems that Xbox is just. Oh, I hate to be that guy because I've got the Series X and I've also got shares in Microsoft as well, so I've got a vested interest in their ongoing success. And I've been an X-Bro since the original Xbox Huge back in the 2000s. But it just seems like they're being more consumer friendly. Like, Games Pass is a fantastic deal. That you're getting day one things like in the vein of like Halos and Age of Empires 4. They're bringing out streaming services to the point where like this time next year, you might not even need an Xbox Series X. You just stream things, depending on your internet connection, of course, in Australia.
Straight to the Chromecast, baby.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be completely cynical about this. Like, it's great that they're being more consumer friendly, but it's also on the point of they gotta be more consumer friendly, because they would have just died if it wasn't for the how they marketed the original Xbox One and being very anti consumer friendly on that.
Yeah, that's right. It was that
they've-
always online thing that literally sunk them in 2013. And
I mean, at
Yeah.
the same time, though, every other console is going to be always online at some point that's not handheld, because that's just the way the future is going to be.
but they called it too early,
yeah.
and people weren't ready for it.
Yeah,
But
and removing the disc
Yeah,
drive
I
was
wouldn't
the
have been
big
able
one.
to use it at the time.
Yeah, well, Australian internet, no one would have been able to use
But
it.
but just to cap off this Xbox 20th anniversary stream, I'd also like to point out that they spent about 5 minutes having The Rock on stage shilling his new movie with Ryan Reynolds and
I
Gal
hate
Gadot. There's not a whole lot to say on that, but I'm sure that Chris Pratt is in that movie somewhere.
Thanks, Zeph, I hate it. All right, let's move on.
hopefully he's doing the voice of The Rock.
The voice of The Rock? I was just about to say that.
Chris Pratt being like, "Can you smell what The Rock is cooking?" would be the worst experience of my life.
Whoa!
Oh dear. All right, and the final ticket on today's big news list, we have the Game Award nominations up finally. What are people's thoughts on that? We'll just do a quick taster. We're not going to spend hours poking through each category. People can go and make their own minds up on that. But any standouts for you guys?
Yeah, so just on Game of the Year itself, I think it'll be worth pointing out what games are actually on the Game of the Year list. So we have Deathloop by Arcane Studios and Bethesda. It Takes Two by Hazelight Studios and published by EA. Metroid Dread by Mercury Steam and Nintendo. Psychonauts 2 by Double Fine and Xbox. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart by Insomniac and Sony. And Resident Evil Village by Capcom. I've only played one of those games this year.
And would that be your Game of the Year pick?
I honestly, I'm not too comfortable saying that, because I I'd like to play Ratchet and Resident Evil Village. I'm sure they could take the lead from Metroid Dread, but Metroid Dread is an actual fantastic game as well. So it definitely deserves to be in the talk for Game of the Year.
Yeah, I haven't played any of them. I played a couple of the other ones in the different categories, but
I thought you would have tried Psychonauts 2 since it's on Game Pass.
I didn't. So because I'm me and I'm the way that I am, I can't play the second part of a game without playing the first one.
Fair. Is the first one not on Game Pass as well?
No, it is. I
Oh,
just haven't
okay.
got around to it.
Fair. Yeah.
So it's one of the things. It's on the backlog. It's on the play later list, or at the play later list, whatever it's called on Game Pass. And every now and then I'll scroll through it, and I'm like, well, I'm really overwhelmed, and I'll just go back to playing Pokemon or something that I've already played. I'm waiting for retirement, then I can finally get through them all.
Can we take a moment to pay respects to Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl being in the category for best fighting, knowing that it's probably not going to win?
Nah, no way.
It's basically dead at this point as well.
Yeah.
That's handily going to
Yeah.
Guilty Gear Strive.
Yeah.
You reckon?
I mean, I hope so, but Melty Blood though.
Yeah, that's
I
what I
mean,
would-
there's a few
yeah.
really good fighting games in there. For like Game of the Year very specifically, I wouldn't mind touching on that as well. I played a little bit of Village. It was very good. I watched like pretty much the entire game through a friend basically streaming it through Discord while I was playing other games, and art and like I don't want to say story wise, but just atmosphere wise, it was a very, very, very good game. So I think that's excellent. But I think Metroid Dread does the exact same thing, and it's Metroid that people have been waiting for so long that I think Metroid will probably like pull it, like prediction wise. I think there's a lot of games in there that are well deserved, including surprisingly EA It Takes Two. Like that's a game that I really want to play and has been highly recommended to me by a lot of people. So
Yeah, that's something I would like to play at
It's on
some
Games
point.
Pass,
Yeah,
isn't it,
so-
Josh? Let's go.
It is now, yeah. So yeah, let's play it. I mean, I'm down, but it's I've seen enough of the game that it's definitely unique to something that EA has actually dipped their finger in. So I'm really surprised and really pleased that it's actually in there to encourage EA to actually make some more good games and not just shill out another remake or just further a series that is already dead.
I'd like to take a moment to give a shout out to Best Score in Music and how Voice of Cards got absolutely denied
They
on this,
did.
but at least Near Replicant is there, so Near Replicant got my vote.
Near Replicant also got my vote. But yeah, Voice of Cards not being in there, and the worst insult to injury is that there's 6 slots and there's only 5 games. Just add it in.
I'm very surprised that Cyberpunk's in that best score in music. Like I didn't think we'd see it at all. Judging.
I'm surprised it's in the Game Awards.
But like
I'm surprised that Guardians of the Galaxy is there, since a big part of that is licensed music, and Best Score I think should be
Original.
relegated
Yeah.
to original soundtracks.
I agree.
But at the
Yeah.
same time, maybe it's how it's used as well. But I haven't played. Yeah, I don't. Have any of us played the new Guardians of the Galaxy game? I've heard really good things.
No, but I've heard it's
Yeah,
actually
Yeah.
that's what I've had too.
Yeah, so maybe it's how it uses it or something.
I mean, it's Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, what? Its music is one of its main draws.
Yeah, especially that whole '80s music. Well, probably might be into the '90s music now because he's what 25. So
Yes. So last thing I think I'll bring up is that is everyone excited for Elden Ring to win most anticipated game for a third year running?
I think Starfield will win.
I-
That's what I've heard.
The
I
amount
like
of the-
Battletoads.
yeah, they came out.
Need to do that green text.
I enjoyed that the second year in a row. The Breath of the Wild sequel.
The
is still
sequel,
called
yeah.
The sequel to the Legend of
Yeah,
Zelda:
yeah,
Breath of the Wild.
Cool. Well, I mean, I guess if anyone doesn't have anything more to say about Game Awards, we can probably wrap this up.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be touching on anything more. Obviously, we'll probably end up covering that a bit more once we figure out, who wins and who loses anyway. But I guess that brings us to the end of episode 3. Should we do a quick lightning round the lounge, see what we have in store for next week?
Pokemon Shining Diamond. It's out. We got 2 hours, boys. Thank God. Gen 4, we're coming home.
All right, so that
Do you want
covers
to ask
Steve.
me, or should we break it with Seth?
I am not making another midnight run to do a Final Fantasy 14 event in the last hour today, so I'm all up in the air. I'll probably play more Halo, but I won't talk about it again because I feel like we covered it pretty extensively. So, and there's not going to be any major developments on that until the single
Yeah,
player
and at
comes
which point
out.
we'll be talking about the single player a lot anyway. Josh, what about you?
Pokemon. Oh man, I'm gonna play
You need to
Pokemon
match, you need to
literally
match Steven's
all week.
enthusiasm for that one.
Oh man, I will literally be playing Pokemon all week, and then didn't add it to the news, but we should probably mention it just on the sly. The Minecraft update comes out on the 30th, so depending if there's for some reason a delay on this, also Minecraft.
Fantastic. And
All right,
The 30th is 12 days away. That'll be 2 podcasts
How old are you, big
away.
fella?
it
Can I
should
see
be,
some ID?
but you never know.
Can I see some ID? Big fella, Pokemon and Minecraft. That's like the...
I'm 5 at heart.
we'll go get him a bowl of Fruit Loops.
Also at height.
Nice. And I will likely be continuing with Road 96 and maybe touching the Rift Breaker, which has been in my backlog for a while, but might actually play a bit for next week's show.
All right, looking forward to hearing more Forza Horizon 5 from you, Patrick.
Yeah, well, I'm sure if I have something to say, I will find a way to slot it into next week's show as well. You've been listening to the Fast Travel Lounge. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.